This episode of the ECWM podcast has been brought to you by Benelli. Dominate the skies.
Kent Cartridge, Canada. High quality, high performance shotgun shells for waterfowl, turkey, upland, sporting clays, and more.
Sitka, turning clothing into gear.
Maritime Dog Training, because I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be.
Offering obedience training of all levels, service dog and retriever training in person or online. L&M Trailers, offering trailer rentals and sales in Woodstock, New Brunswick.
Big Owl Decoys, high quality silhouettes and accessories for waterfowl, turkey, and sandhill cranes.
East Coast Calls, offering high quality duck, goose, and turkey calls built right here in the Maritimes. Come on, boy. Welcome to the Waterfowl East podcast.
Welcome.
We have got a banger tonight.
Yeah. We got the man, the myth, and the legend from Punisher Waterfowl.
Absolutely.
Mr. Damien Pittman. Speak, my son.
I've got a bone to pick with you guys.
And I'm fucking pissed already. We haven't even got started.
Shit.
Well, I'm going
to
listen. How come you lost the East Coast Waterfowl Mafia? Like, what's the fucking deal there?
Well, it never does. It never went away. It's never going to go away.
It's not gone.
It's just more of a business move. It's Waterfowl East is a bit more of a marketable name for companies, and that's about it.
It's like we are the East Coast Waterfowl Mafia, but as far as a registered company name, we are Waterfowl East.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll tell you what really sparked this. We've talked about it for a few years now. Yeah. I did a thing this fall that was called Wildlife Wednesday with the school board, basically, in New Brunswick. So I went on there and I did a presentation, and it was for like half an hour, and any school in the province, could have been all of them, if they wanted to chime in and watch this and ask questions, they could. So the possibility of there being like thousands of kids watching it was a real thing.
Yeah.
And I was the sacrificial lamb. So when they came on and they were going to introduce me, she had a problem with the word mafia. Yeah. And she was like super cool about it. But she's like, I just really, some other people in the office have said like some things about it and think it might be an issue. And I've looked it up online, the word and what it means and stuff. And she's like, I'm cool with it, but some people have a problem with it. And I'm like, okay.
And that's all it was. Like, I mean, for us, it really represents a brotherhood. Like, I mean, as a group, we are extremely tight. We don't see each other all that often, but I mean, if shit goes sideways, I mean, there's no question who we're going to call.
We're definitely going to,
you know what I mean? I guess the only way I could compare it's probably similar to like a military brotherhood. Like we are tight.
Yeah, you guys are tight because, you're not even all in the same province.
No.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it is, but like, I guess I can understand from the teacher's point of view, especially, when you're talking to kids.
Yeah.
Because, a kid's going to go home and there's going to be, Hugo was listening.
Right.
He's going to walk home and say, we had a presentation from the mafia today, and then the parents are going to fucking lose their mind, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly. So that after that, we kind of sat down and we're like, okay, this is probably the time when we need to pull the trigger on this, but it's that only. We still, I mean, I still have a huge logo on the side of my trailer. It's not going.
It'll never die. It's just, this is just a business name, basically.
Yep.
Like,
well,
100%.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Like I told you the first time you came on our show, Maddie, I love the name, and I always thought it was one of the best names for a group of buddies, a group of hunters that I'd ever heard. So I'm glad
we've been explaining that to people, like, because on the forums we get shit on pretty hard. People would think it was and I mean, we don't give two flying frigs at all ever. It's entertaining and we laugh at it, but I mean, people would just, oh, that's stupid. It's like,
you think you're tough.
Yeah.
It's not about that.
No, it's just not about the brotherhood. You know what I mean? I mean, think of The Godfather and the movies and stuff like that.
And if it was just a fad or something we thought that we were doing to try to be tough, I mean, it wouldn't have lasted.
No.
This is not going, this is all the way. We're always going to be the East Coast Waterfowl Mafia, and the people that have come and gone and been a part of will always be part of that as well. Like, so it's a very strong, tight-knit group of men wherever you find yourself in the country or whatever walk of life you find yourself in today. If you haven't been in the blind and in years, even if you've ever been around or been a part of that and been with us, you're there.
Yeah. There's just not a lot of friendships out there like this.
No,
not like this.
Field Huddle said it in an article years ago. They used to do this thing called "What's in Your Blind Bag," and I think that it was. Do you remember that? I don't know what magazine that was in. Anyway, he wrote in there. He said, "My girlfriend told me once that I couldn't be friends with somebody that didn't hunt," and he's like, "I thought that was kind of foolish at the time, but he's like, now that I look at it." My very best friends are people that waterfowl hunt, not just hunt. Yeah, waterfowl hunt. That's a real thing. It's a tight knit. Because I mean,
it is, and I mean to do it the way we're doing it. I mean, there's a level of craziness there that you won't find in deer hunters and shit like that, right?
No, I mean
maybe something the mountain guys hunting goats and shit like that up in the mountains might be less.
I think crazy. Like, I agree with you. Like, the people that I talk to daily, now I talk to some other people daily too, but for the most part, the people I talk to daily are the fellas that I hunt with, or I have hunted with.
Yeah.
And I agree with your point when you say, that there's a brotherhood like it, but yet on the other hand, I've never seen a group of people try to friggin' beat one another down like we do.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It is insane what lengths people will go to try to discredit you, or even if you're just, put up a simple post on social media and people are like just zooming in on your picture and trying to find something to complain about.
Fuck
what I mean?
Man, change your name to Mafia something. Yeah. You want to talk about getting shit on.
Yeah. No, but you're absolutely
It's
right
true,
that
though.
way. Like waterfowl hunt, I know that Sean Stahl was on a podcast one time and I never got to finish it, but I know that he was talking about that, and then he came right out and said waterfowl hunters are jerks. Yeah. But we're sometimes that way because it's competitive. And if it was all on a level playing field, and it was like, which really it is, if you're willing to put the work in, and you're always the guy that's there first and underneath of where the birds want to be, and you're doing that consistently, that pisses people off.
Oh yeah, I mean locally, there's no question.
100%.
There's no question locally. There's a lot of jealousy and shit. But I mean, I know what you mean though too. Just on the forums and on Facebook groups, it's insane. Like no one can friggin' post anything without getting shit on.
Yeah, definitely.
Look at the Canadian hunting dogs. I mean, since I revamped that, I mean, you made that post with your dog. It dropped a bird once or something like that, and Buddy's like, "Oh, that dog's got to go to the gym." Yeah. I was like, what? What do you mean? Oh, well, it shouldn't be. It's like, fuck you, you're gone.
Really? I never saw that, I guess.
It was a video I put up of my dog, and I've always been worried that in a field hunt that she wouldn't be able to do it because she's a small lab, right?
Yeah.
But anyways, she did it, but she's picking up these geese, and on the way back, she dropped it a couple times. Yeah. But she still brought it back to me, right? Anyways, I just put the video on Wes's on that group that he started, and this guy said, looks like she needs to go to the gym, and I thought he was just joking at first, and I was like, what she lacks in size, she makes up in
she's desire, determination.
Fire
and
breather.
determination. He was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I was like, well, you haven't got to be a fucking asshole about it.
Right.
And then Wes is like, he gone.
Yeah, I was like, man, I said, there's no room for that shit in here. I said, take that somewhere else. And then he replied, oh, okay, Karen. So I just banned him.
Oh, maybe I did. Maybe,
I deleted him and banned him.
Maybe I did see that. Yeah. And then I think
I messaged Damien, and that's how this whole podcast started.
That's probably a guy that, no offense to the people that have doodles, but probably owns some sort of golden doodle or something that's not trained for hunting that wants to take it out and fucking, you know.
But it is true, though. Like, I'm a member on Facebook, a whole whack of different groups, and you can't post shit on there without getting shit on.
No, but
and I mean, for us, we're thick-skinned. We don't give a flying frig what anyone else says or thinks. I could care less. It's humorous, but it definitely makes a lot of people who are not like us timid to post,
scared to post something that's not perfect. And you know, when we talk about dogs, which we always do on this podcast, because it's huge for us, when we talk about dogs, I mean, the culture of hunting dogs nowadays is like they're at a time when they should be more trained than they've ever been. Like, steadiness has seemed to have gone out the window, and I know that people comment on that a fair amount, and to me that's warranted because it's a safety thing, and an obedience thing, and you want your dog to mark birds. But anyway, when it's your dog coming back, you sent the dog out, and the dog goes and gets the bird, and it drops it, and it rearranges it and picks it up and brings it back. Like, that's not a thing of the dog trying to give you the finger.
No,
like that's a dog out actively trying to do its job. And I mean, your dog is no slouch. Like, that dog comes from good bloodlines.
Yeah,
she knows her job, but she's not huge either. And I mean, for most dogs, picking up a Canada goose.
Well, my last dog, Jace, I mean, he had a mouth like a hippopotamus, and he still dropped birds. It just
it's different if they're dropping them to put their foot on them and rip their guts out.
I mean, it just
you know, picking at them.
I don't even know what he's thinking. Like, what's that guy do? Light his dog up every time it drops a goose or makes a mistake? Holy shit!
Some people I think just want to be.
If he even hunts.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, and then there's some people that just want to be hard to get along with. It's in their nature, right?
Yeah. They're just dickheads, 100%.
But now, like, and Maddie, you would see this, and you know, this show gets edited, so if this needs to come edit the show, feel free to do it. But does it not seem like there's I know here in Ontario, maybe not down in New Brunswick, but here in Ontario, man, it seems like dog trainers are coming out of the woodwork all of a sudden. Yeah, really? I'm a dog trainer. Okay. Show me, like, I want to see
your credentials.
I want to see some wins, right? It could be hunt test wins. It could be field trial wins, but there has to be wins. There has to be something tangible that you can hang your hat on, that you're an actual dog trainer.
And to me, I mean, I've only ever had like 2 people ask me for like some sort of certification, and I'm like, I don't have any formal school training. No. All my training has been on the job, but I've got lots of pictures of dogs that have successfully titled in hunt tests.
Absolutely.
And here's a 6-foot Rubbermaid container of titles for the dogs I've run.
Here's a wall full of ribbons.
Here's an entire wall of ribbons.
Absolutely.
And to me, because of the way that things are nowadays, you're talking like how all these people can be dog trainers. You can literally go online, check a bunch of boxes, and you can get a certificate that says I'm a dog trainer. And if that's happening there, it doesn't surprise me. It's not happening here that I've seen.
You don't see necessarily professional trainers, but one thing I've wondered is a lot of the pet stores here are putting on like obedience classes and training, and I wonder
puppy classes and
like
stuff.
who are these people that are putting these on? I wonder, are they actually, do they know their shit, or it'd be interesting to go to one just to see if they're valid.
I can tell you,
or
not. I went to one when we first got our dog. My wife was like, let's go to puppy classes. And I was like, sure, whatever. You signed off on me getting a dog. If you want to go to the puppy class, yeah, we'll go. And not that I was a totally inexperienced dog owner. We've owned dogs before, just not a dog that was going to get groomed for hunting.
Right.
But we went to this thing, and buddy, the amount of people that's handing over cash to this person, and all that person was doing was ultimately just buy yourself one of these little sacks and put some kibble in it, and just have them follow you around, and if they do what you want to do, give them a piece of kibble. Was pretty much the gist of it, right? There was nothing, and again, they're puppies, right? So like, what are you going to train a puppy to do?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I had somebody call me the other day, and she's like, I'm sure you get asked this once in a while, but she's like, I'm interested in having my dog trained, but I need to know about your methods. And I'm like, okay, no problem.
That's a good thing to ask, really.
Yep.
That's a awesome question to ask.
Yep. I said, great. I don't mind you asking that at all. I said, I'm completely open and honest about my methods. And I said, I'd be what they would call a balance trainer. And by they, I mean anybody in the pet industry. I said, my program is not purely positive. I said, we are going to use leashes that constrict around the dog's neck, like slip leads or chain collars or prong collars. I said, we're not going to use things like halties or harnesses or things like that. I'm like, we are going to use positive reinforcement through physical touch and I guess you could say words of affirmation. Everybody, everybody.
I'll pay double for words like that.
Yeah, speak sweetly into the microphone.
Beautiful verbiage. Good Englishes.
Yeah, well, you have to be diplomatic nowadays, right? You have to be careful what you say, and we do, and I do use treats for positive reinforcement as well. Yeah. But they're definitely not a crutch, and you know, we don't treat for everything. We don't mark every behavior with a treat. A lot of times we don't even use them. It's completely up to the handler. Like I don't mind using them, but it's kind of delayed gratification. The dog needs to understand that they're not going to get one every time, and people. I think the reason why I have so much business with dogs that are troubled is because, and this is a trend that I've started to notice, and you know, I might get some kickback from this, but what the fuck ever, right? I mean, this needs to be said. Your dogs need to, at least, regardless of what you teach them, what method you use, if it's purely positive, they still need to learn about pressure from the leash. Because ultimately, the dog is going to pull on a leash if you put it on them. And if there's no correction for that, it's not good. Because the only person that's paying for that is you. So, first of all, you put the leash on the dog pulls on the leash. It might gag a little bit or whatever because you've got it on the flat collar. Then people go and they get a harness, which was originally built for what? Work.
Pulling sleds.
Yeah. Pulling sleds. Yeah. And all, you know, now all of a sudden, you're the sled. And we're doing our dog a disservice by not teaching them that when the leash tightens up, that's not a good thing. The dog should think, when the leash tightens up, I should back off from that. And
I got a question for you, Matty.
Sure.
No, sorry, buddy. Finish what you were going to say.
I was just gonna. That's pretty much where I was gonna end. It's just that your program can't. If it's gonna be purely positive, you should at least show the dog that when the leash tightens up, that it needs to back off from that. There has to be pressure involved. You know, life isn't that way. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. You know, there has to be correction from the leash. It has to be done properly in a way that the dog understands. And you know, I train hundreds of dogs, man. You know, probably 150 a year. And, you know, dogs are on a spectrum. They all learn different ways.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
Hazelnut?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hazelnut.
Just asking Matt what he wants in his coffee.
Yeah. So
that one.
Yeah, that one. So really, you're doing your dog a disservice. And the reason I say that is because I get a lot of dogs that come from these programs, and they're like, I'm having a really hard time with this dog.
Mm-hmm.
He pulls me down the road. He's kind of out of control behavior-wise. And I'm like, that's because he's never really been taught to behave or that there's any sort of correction or reinforcement or anything.
Well, and collar pressure and leash pressures, it's a good safety feature because, I mean, I've had every dog I've owned run into a snare. Yeah. And as soon as they feel that tighten around their neck, they just stop and sit down.
Yeah.
Like if you got a dog, that's yanking on a leash and used to doing that, it's going to feel pressure of a snare and it's just going to keep yanking.
Yeah.
Next thing you know, your dog's going to choke out and die. So
and the other thing that I really push on people too is e-collar conditioning, and whether they're gonna do it or not, because I mean I've collar conditioned way more pet dogs than I have hunting dogs. I want everybody to hear about it and be educated. This is what it is. This is how you can have your dog off leash and them not be out of control.
It's pretty much like a guarantee safety feature too.
It is because
shit goes sideways.
Because if your dog, I'll tell you right now, if your dog is off leash and it's not collar conditioned, and you have zero mode of reinforcement on that dog, you don't have a check cord like a long leash on it, you don't have an e-collar, the dog is just free to go and run wherever it wants to go. It's out of control.
Yeah,
it is, because how can you if that dog sees a porcupine or a skunk or another squirrel across the road or another dog, or just decides to be a dog and not listen to you that day. Mm-hmm. Listen, my dogs are master hunters and grandmaster hunters. At the end of the day, they're still dogs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're still there's still dogs that have prey drive, and if your only mode of reinforcement is your voice and your trust in your relationship with your dog, I'm right here to tell you today that's not going to be enough at some point. It's not if something's going to happen, it's when.
Yeah.
That's all, and 100%. And that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, it's true. Well, I'd like to know how some. Oh, go ahead.
No, go for it, buddy.
I was just gonna say, like, some of these people, I've even seen hunters saying that they're training their dogs with just positive reinforcement. Like, I wonder how they make out long term.
Well, like, man, I mean, look, I trained Otter without a collar.
Yeah, but Otter is a different dog,
and it was not easy. The Evan Graham had a really good post, and if you follow Evan Graham, you know Evan Graham from SmartWorks. Thank you, Wes. Evan's a great guy. He had a really solid post the other day on e-collar conditioning. It was so good, man. Like you could print it off and put it on the wall. It was super good. Just talking about this whole thing. So if you get a chance, dig that up and read it.
I just don't know how these people make out long term. I mean, Otter was a special dog. I mean, that dog just, man, she listened flat out.
But there was definitely times where the whole point of it is we've come so far with that, and to be able to use that as a tool for timely corrections. And I think that the title of that post was tennis shoe training or something like that, and the reason that they called it that was because you had to, if your dog did something wrong, you had to run out there and physically make a correction, like get in the dog's face or whatever you would do. And that's not a timely correction, especially if your dog is like over 100 meters away.
That's the thing. By the time you get there to correct it, the dog's forgotten what the hell it's even done.
Right. And when we talk about quickly, I don't want to get down the rabbit hole, but
that's what we do here, Matt.
I guess that's what we do. When we talk,
we should get beagles because we go down several rabbit holes.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is when we talk about indirect pressure, which is something that we teach in the yard to our dog, that if I give you a right over and you go back, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to bring you back to the pitcher's mound.
Yeah.
I'm going to recast you right over again. If you take the if you take the same cast that you did and you go back instead of going over, then I'm going to stop you. I'm going to reel you in, give you a light correction on your way in, and then sit you down again. And that's indirectly correcting you for taking the wrong direction. Yeah. Okay?
Yeah.
And that's how intelligent these dogs are, that they can figure that out. Thank you very much, Lori.
Oh, yeah.
In the fact that they can understand, we teach them that in the yard, and then we use that in the field when they're literally hundreds of yards away. That's a timely correction. That is like, oh, I really want to drive back here, but he's telling me, hey, man, do not go back any farther. You're going to get in the water. You're going to go behind that bush and be out of sight. You got to go over. The bird's over there. I know you want to drive back, but if your dog is out there 200 yards and you got to run all the way out there, your lesson.
But that's the thing. People just don't.
Yeah, your lesson is spoiled. I guess. Like you'll. I don't know if you would get to that point or not, but the fact is that callers haven't made training easier. They've made it more efficient. And it's fair for the dog. Like, you teach them that stuff in the yard. And I mean, when you explain that to somebody, then you run a setup with the dog and you use that type of training, and they're like, wow, that's really something. Like, the dog never vocalized or anything like that. It's like
it saves you so much headache.
It's a tug on the leash. You're replacing the tug on the leash. Go ahead, Damien.
So, like, if you think, so talking about what you're just saying, right? Like, if you, and this is what was said to me first when I got my dog, is try to think like the dog a little bit. Not like some hippie bullshit where you become the dog, but like, you try to.
That's me. That's what I tell people. That's my program, obviously, with the hair and everything.
No, but so my dog is really, really, like, her entire existence in life is retrieving.
Definitely.
That's what she wants to do. So the problem I was having with her was she was getting very, very vocal on the line when I was going to tests and field trials and stuff, right? And as I'm I'm trying to line her up, and you know that, like, and I'm new to that world, so sometimes it takes me a little longer to get her to line up in the direction that I'd want her to go, right?
Yep.
And she'd be barking at me as if to say, "Hurry up and send me. I want to go." And she's getting amped up, right?
Anxious.
So what we done is, when in our training, as soon as she made a yelp, I just stopped. Like, she didn't even get. All right, turn around, right back to the holding blind.
Yep.
Sit there for 30 minutes. You ready? Okay. And we'd walk out, and I'd start lining her up. She barked again or made a sound. Okay, right back to the holding blind again. And it made a huge. So if you're to touch on your point there, when you say that's how intelligent those dogs are, that's how intelligent they are. Yeah. Because all she wanted to do was just go pick up that bumper. That was it. She just wants to go. And if it means, okay, I got to shut my mouth. Okay, he really means shut my mouth. So, and she picked it up, and she was great after. Now, one of the biggest things I learned with dog training, and it really came true this year, is that if you think, when you've mastered something, if you think that you could leave that and you never got to come back to touch it again, you're wrong. Because
that's basic obedience.
Well, that was because, like, so on her angle backs and her overs and stuff like that, I was like, yeah, she's a rock star. She's got that. Buddy, if she's not practicing that often, then it's gone. Yeah. And you know what I mean? So they're brilliant, they're smart, they're driven, but again, they're still a dog, right? So you got to keep on them.
It's like any athlete or anything. If you don't do it regularly, you'll get rusty.
Well, it's my
you'll
example.
Never go back to rates to square one, but you'll definitely get a little rusty.
My example that I use with people is obedience in itself, and this is with every skill you teach your dog, and you revisit these things and strengthen these skills through drill work. But obedience has to be a way of life. Like to always take ownership as a handler, like because we constantly have to be a student of this game and want to be a better handler for our dogs. But to be a better handler is to always hold yourself accountable, in my opinion. And part of doing that is making sure that you're constantly keeping a good balance in training. And part of that is definitely making sure that even just the most basic obedience is done 3 days a week formally. Even if your dog, doesn't matter if your dog's a field trial champion, a master hunter, or a puppy, they need this steady. Because I use the example all the time. I'm like, should I know grade 5 math? Probably. But I haven't done it in a day or two.
Do you know 5 grade math? No.
Yeah, but I haven't done it in a day or two. You know, I'd probably be pretty humbled to sit down and try to do it.
I got to take off my socks and pull out my dink to count 21.
Yeah, there you go.
That's bad.
God love you. But I mean, that's key.
20 and a half, maybe.
Like if my dog isn't with me when they're 6 inches away from me, how are they going to be when they're 60 feet or 200 meters or whatever? So like,
absolutely.
And can I hold them to a higher standard? Or to as high of a standard if I haven't conditioned or practiced those simple skills like heeling, walking to a holding blind, like setting two or three holding blinds out in a row and walking into one, coming out of that the proper way, going into the next one, you know, like all those skills are all super important. And if you don't have them solid consistently, then, you know, your program is kind of on the rocks, and the only person to blame is you as a handler because you don't want to practice that shit, right?
That's right.
I find that. Go ahead this time.
Nobody. I was just agreeing.
I find one thing for me personally that's important in keeping the dog always in check every day, right? Even like if you don't have time to go and actually do a training session, it's just simple shit like making them sit down, putting their food down and not eat until you say their name. Open up the front door and they don't go out until you call their name. Just simple shit like that, right?
Yep.
I find things like that are really key with keeping a dog in check and always knowing their position and where they stand in the pack.
The other thing I wanted to reel back on and touch on since we were on the topic, because this is actually a pretty hot topic nowadays. You take a dog. What's your dog's name again, Damien?
Lander.
Okay, you take a dog like Lander that's a high-powered machine. There's a lot of horsepower there. There's we're not breeding on the field side of things. We're not breeding dogs now that have a questionable want to do the job. Like there's no question that they want to do the job. The problem isn't when you step out of the holding blind, and I'll just use that as an analogy. Like the problem isn't when you get to the line or when you get to the hunt. The problem isn't the work. It's everything that comes before that, from the truck to the holding blind, or from the truck to the blind. Yeah, that's the tough part nowadays. And then when you get on the line, a lot of dogs now are vocal. This isn't just, you are not, when you were talking there, I didn't want to interrupt you, but you are definitely not alone. That is a big deal now. And they're starting to notice that with dogs younger and younger because they're just so whammed, you know what I mean? To do the job. And you have to be really careful with that. But even on a pet dog level, people come to me and they're like, oh, my dog barks constantly. Okay, well, there's definitely a few things you can do there, but to make corrections on things when you really don't know when it's going to happen, remotely, especially if you're in the other room and your dog's in a different room barking, or when you're headed to the line, like, you know, that's a kind of an attrition hands-off method that you're using, and I'm a real big fan of attrition, right? Like, I mean, you know, it's like Robert said the other day, and we would have picked up on this, but he's like, those higher field trial dogs can take training. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They can take training. Okay.
Yeah.
But
And the other thing too is and I know like a person like you, Maddie, like you've got your program that you follow, right? But what people, I think some people don't realize is that even for someone like you deviate from your program depending on the dog, right? Because not every, it's not going to work the exact same for everyone, right?
Yeah.
no, dogs are definitely on a spectrum that way. Yeah.
So with mine, not only was she being vocal, but just to go on what you said just then, like they were just really, really amped up. So I'm going to a hunt test or a field trial, whatever it is I'm doing, and she's sitting in her holding in her hole in the truck, and all she's just smells and hearing gunshots and dogs and everything, and she's in her like friggin' vibrating.
She knows where she is.
She knows what's up.
So
she is trial
so
wise.
then bring her to the line. She, she doesn't really want to listen because she's like, I know what I'm supposed to do. We've done this a million times. I'm just going to do what we done the last time. You know what I mean? Like she's sort of kind of fucking. But I tell you, this is what we done this year: is we staked her out. So instead of having her in the hole.
Yep.
I had her out with me the whole day. She was just on a lead, staked out, but she could see everything.
Right.
Mm.
And what a friggin' difference it made.
Yeah.
What a huge difference it made. So she's not in her hole. All she could do in the hole was hear and smell. She couldn't see nothing.
Yeah.
But then when I staked her out, now she can see.
Right.
Oh, buddy, what a huge difference. And this is something that it was an old timer that said, why don't you just stake her out and have her, when you're sitting in your lawn chair waiting for your turn, at least she's there in the shade with you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I never thought about that. And he was like, the dog wants to be with you, and she knows all this stuff is going on. So why are you taking her away from you? And I was like, yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, trials are definitely tough. I mean, because when they roll in there, they know where they know where they are and what's going on, eh? And for clubs, like the PEI Retriever Club has a really solid active club. There's a lot of guys that had 10-year-old dogs that have either, unfortunately passed on or they've retired them and they've gotten new puppies that have all got back into it and they're really active. So when you show up to one of their training days, which happens quite a few times a week, there's a lot of dogs there, and it's like a hunt test. So you you get that environment with those dogs. But for me, I have to work hard to get, I have one day a week.
To duplicate that.
Yeah.
Where you can duplicate that.
Right, because most times I train alone, and I have once a week I have people that come up and train with me, which is great. But it's hard to duplicate, man. It's just like it's hard to duplicate an actual hunt for these dogs, but they're high and they're fiery, and I mean that vocalization is not easy, and that's in a lot of dogs now, a lot of them. Yeah,
that's something that
I want
upland
hunting. I'll go for it. Yeah,
we're always talking over each other.
I know, but
that's something even for us going upland hunting. We'll have a couple truckloads of dogs, and I mean it's same thing. You pull into a spot that you're going to go hunt, and man, if we don't let those dogs out to blow some steam off and then put the other dogs back in and just run the one, though if you just leave them in the truck, they lose their mind. And you can hear them barking and screaming until you're out of earshot, basically. But just letting them out and letting them run around for 10 minutes before you take one dog hunting, it makes all the difference in the world.
And for me, I don't like anybody on my truck being loud. I do use bark collars, and for the simple fact that if I didn't, I've definitely had dogs over the years, throughout the summer, that would just be non-stop barking or whining. And I think to myself, all you got to do is stick your head on that truck and listen to that for about 30 seconds. And I think to myself, how can I expect any of those other dogs to get off the truck and be focused on their job?
Yeah,
I can't. And there's no, and there's absolutely No need of that. Like you can be excited all you want, but at the end of the day, that's more than excitement. You understand that you're not supposed to be vocal, right?
Remember Mitchell's old dog Sadie?
Yep.
She'd drive him friggin' nuts in the cab of the truck going hunting in the morning.
Whine
nonstop. Like he never did get that out of her.
Yeah, no.
But the thing is too, like if you, Matt, you, Wes, me, like if we're buying a dog, so God forbid, at some time down the road we're going to have to buy another dog, right?
Yep.
And when you're doing your research, like you want a fire-breathing dragon as your dog. If you want a dog that's going to put up with the bullshit that you're going to ask it to do, to sit in that blind and in the slop snow and everything, like you need. So when you're getting a thoroughbred and you're paying the money that you're paying to get this dog, the last thing you want to do is take away its drive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
Right.
Exactly.
So you've got to listen. This is what you wanted. So it's up to you to manage it. So this is the thing with e-collars. Like I use an e-collar now. Luckily, it goes on her, and all I've ever got to do is just do that little warning little beep, and it brings her right back on. But like I see guys like if they didn't have an e-collar, they can't control their dogs.
Yeah. No, it shouldn't. And we, there definitely needs to be a balance there. Like guys still need to have their dogs respect a leash and not use that as a crutch. Like that's definitely, it's not something that you do halfway. That's for sure. Your leash work is the cake, and your e-collars is definitely the frosting. But again, I mean, we're breeding dogs now that are super high. I mean, and the reason we're doing that is I mean, watch things like the Super Retriever series.
Yeah.
I mean, look, and this is not a bad thing. Don't nobody get me wrong here. This is not a bad thing. The reason we're breeding dogs like we are now is because, number one, in field trials, the marks are only getting longer. I don't know how the dogs even see them at times. But they do because they're consistently doing the work. Not all of them, but definitely some of them. The level of competition has gotten so out of control that way. Like they're so good now. You watch that Super Retriever series, and it's like, my God, how can you shoot like 5 birds, and the dog remember them all? They're just counting them. 1, 2, 3. Okay, behind that rock, but just to the right of that tree, 4, and then there's a wiper bird, 5. And then they just go out there and pick them up, and they're like
all in the breeding.
Yeah, and they're like, what exactly should we throw at these dogs that they can't pick up?
Yeah. But that's the benefit of testing though, right? Like I own a Drahthaar, and I mean for them to be bred, they have to go through a whole series of tests that they have to pass in order just to breed.
Yep.
And I mean, same with retrievers. I mean, it's not mandatory, but they got to be master hunters now, or the people. That's what people want.
Yeah.
And I mean, when you keep breeding master hunters, and this one won this and that, like you're going to just get a higher graded dog.
Yeah.
Through the program.
Yeah. What it turns into too is, I mean, I had this conversation tonight because Tank and I had some pictures done that are going to be deadly. But what we get into tonight, after that was over, we got talking about the dogs, and I said, Otter, don't get me wrong, thank God for her. But when I had her, I always thought to myself, man, I'd like to have a dog that had a little more horsepower. Like, it was very seldom that Otter would jump in the water. She'd normally wade herself in, but she would pick up all the birds, man.
She'd retrieve all day.
All day long, yep. She
just at her own pace.
Yep, and she wouldn't, and honest to God, she'd boat out there and get them all, but whatever. And I thought to myself, man, I'd go to hunt tests and field trials, and I'd be like, man, I'd love to have a high-powered dog.
Why
like
the hell did you ever get it?
And then along came Tank, and I was like, fucking barely hanging on the whole first year.
Oh man, that guy's like a meth head.
That dog cracks me up, man.
And
I love hearing stories about him.
So fucking Walter takes him This is the first year. This is my part of our love child.
So he's
together.
down in Texas. He's down in Texas now, is he?
He's down in Texas now. He doesn't have Tank. Tank is still here, obviously. But anyways, that first winter he went down, he took Tank with him. And after the first week, he calls me and I'm like, "How you making out?" "Oh, good. Had a good week and everything." And he had I think he had 6 dogs with him. And he goes, "Matt, I'll tell you right now," he said, "of all 6 of these dogs," he said, "Tank is as much work as the other 5 put together."
Yeah. He's a young man's dog.
He's like, "I don't know what would become of him if you didn't own him."
And he'd be in a shelter.
And you hadn't done his basics work. He's like, I'm like, "Well, man, I was fucking barely hanging on." I'm like, when you took him, I thought to myself, "Mother of God, like, I hope he's not going to call me and be like, did you fucking train this dog or what?" He's like, he's in a great spot, but I'll tell you right now, he's like, you cannot be on cruise control. He's like, you got to be on your toes all the time.
He's 0 to 100 like that.
And he is. He is. Our trial career has been so up and down, and it's not for lack of talent, because there's oodles.
Yeah.
You know, it's manners at the end of the day. It's all the things we've talked about.
And you talked about it there a little while ago too, when you were saying like they're still dogs. And one thing one of the old testers had said to me is like, "Listen, if you think they're not going to humble you, they'll humble you.
Yeah, train a little longer.
You could train and train and train, and that dog could be unbelievable. But you get to the test day, and it's like they just had a big old crack pipe out, and it's just right out, and you're left there wondering, you know, what did you do? But it's a dog, and it's some, just like humans have bad days, they're gonna have a bad day too. They're gonna humble you.
Oh, but and more training required. I mean, I'll be the first one to tell you that I used to get super frustrated at times and embarrassed and stuff, and then I'm like, you know what? Like, it's not for lack of putting the work in. We had a bad day. I know what I need to do. You know, most of my problems have come from training alone, like needing to train more. Yeah. So this year, I made sure that I had a group at least once a week, and that definitely helped. But you know, having a group around
that
helps.
Dog there would benefit from a 10K run before every training session or hunt test.
Yeah,
just to take the edge off.
I don't know if you could do it. I'll fucking tell you. I said to Ashley tonight, I said, he'll die from his heart exploding. Or
probably
picking up. I've got more videos, and I'll have
him tomahawking in the field
of him freaking running, and I'm just like, I just want to close my eyes.
That's a great idea right there. We need to start a Tomahawk Tuesday with Tank.
Yeah.
Just all the clips of him hitting a goose head first and then literally cartwheeling asshole to nose past the goose.
Have you seen him do that, Damien?
Yeah, I've seen videos of
it. Was it last year? No, sorry. So we're in 23. 21, the first weekend of the season, I had those guys from St. Anthony, Newfoundland, come every year. One of the first flocks that came in, they sailed one out far. Yeah. And I sent him for it, and it had kind of gone over a hill and then ran to the right, and he actually picked up on the scent of the bird, and I just let him roll, because I said, oh, this might be neat. He might track that bird rather than interfering, which I normally would do. Anyway, I let him do his track there a bit, and then it flapped its wings or something and picked it and started to run, and it was like 80 yards away. And he took off, and he was like a fucking drag car going across that field. And I was like, mother of God. I'm like, you might as well watch, boys, because this is probably going to be it. He's probably going to kill himself right here. Mm-hmm. And he hit that bird, and I know that he went 15 feet cartwheeling. Like, and why wouldn't you slow down?
Wasn't it him once that went off the end of a terrace? Like, he hit a terrace once and just launched chasing a goose or something like that?
No.
A sailor goose?
No, I don't think it was him.
Remember, we had a dog one hunt do that. It hit a terrace and just friggin' cartwheeled.
Also,
it just goes to show like the amount of drive that's in him, right?
Oh,
like,
it's crazy.
Like that's all he cares about.
Oh yeah,
all he cares about is getting that friggin' bird and bringing it back to you.
Yeah,
and if you think that positive, what do you call it, positive affirmation, like that's what he wants, right? He wants you to tell him that he's doing good.
Yeah, he wants to know that he's doing the job, and he doesn't do that stuff because I force him in any way, shape, or form. Like also in 21 when he was running a big blind for me, and we were on an island and hunting a cornfield, and he was like 350 meters away, and it was a really good blind set up for him. End of the year, had been running all year, it was perfect, and I thought the bird was dead because it crashed hard, and the last 60 yards or so of his run, it picked up and flew and went down over the bank, which was like 30 feet down on an angle, not straight down, and then into the St. John River, and he took right off after it. And by the time I got over there, he was damn near out of sight down the river chasing this bird. Like, hold my beer, I'm gonna pick me up in the city.
You're gonna go pick him up at the Matquack Dam.
Oh, fucking guy. But anyway, they definitely have a lot of drive.
Like, they do. They got a lot of drive, and you know, if they didn't have that drive and that desire to please, well, then you'd be saying, well, you know what, the dog is good, but it's not, because, you know, you said it yourself at these trials. Like I don't spend a lot of time watching the Super Series, but like I watched the Nationals.
Yeah, that's
last year.
Yeah,
and the difference between the number 1 dog and the number 10 dog, there's not a lot of difference.
No.
And it's usually not the dog's fault, it's the handler's fault.
The National Field Trial Championship you watched?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because that's Tank's mother was a finalist in that, eh?
Yeah, so you know, like these dogs, like they're so good, and there's so much. I don't know if the dog experiences pressure, but like there's so much going on there for the dog. And like if you're not used to seeing these, and I'm a newbie to it, so I don't have a ton of experience, but like I've asked fellas, and I'm like, so why did you guys groan there when he sort of kind of went that way? Well, he should have went like an arrow straight, and he sort of like dog-legged it.
He avoided that bush.
He avoided that bush, and I was like, but he still got the bird. Yeah, but the dog before him went right straight through the bush.
Yeah.
Didn't care.
Did a nicer job.
Did a nicer job, and I'm like, I guess so, eh? And they were like, that's what's going to separate the winner from number 5.
Yeah,
we're splitting hairs at that level.
Yeah.
And not only is it a huge deal for those dogs to be able to last and stay focused for 10 series over a week.
Yeah.
The handlers there too are also very hyper focused because it's so like you can't make a mistake, really. You don't have much wiggle room there to make a mistake. You can't be banking on anybody else making any mistakes.
No.
Not at that level.
Not at that level. You're 100% right. And I tell you, I was the type of person that was like, well, the dog, I had it in my head that the dog did all the work.
Right.
And obviously that's not the case, because if the handler and the dog aren't, I don't know, like connected, then it's just not going to work. Right.
Yeah,
because
they're not working together.
And so I had seen, and this is something, and maybe, and I'd like to pick your brain on it, Matty, because I'd like to know what you say to people when they drop them off to you to train. So let's say somebody drops off a dog and they're looking at putting them in hunt tests, right?
Yeah.
Which is, the hunt tests are challenging, but they're not like field trials,
right?
But they're still challenging, and you still got to know what you're at. So I watched it one time where a fella, he had given his dog to a trainer, a really good trainer, for like the summer. And this trainer brought the dog up, and I mean, like, this dog was a friggin' rock star. And it was the day before that the owner picked it up from the trainer and then tried to run a senior hunter with it.
Okay.
And the dog just didn't do it. And I was like, man, this dog was supposed to be a rock star. And fellas said, the owner hasn't got a relationship with the dog. The dog has been with the trainer for the last 3 months, and the guy takes it 24 hours before, and now wants it to do a 200-yard retrieve and on a double and pass by and all this shit, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so like when you're doing it, and somebody says to you, listen, I want my dog, I want to put him in for a junior hunter. Like, do you say to him, well, listen, this is, I can get him up there, but don't take him straight from me and put him into a competition the next day? Like, is that?
That's generally how I've only ever had like one owner that wanted to run their own dog. And most of the time he wouldn't do that anyway. He's pretty sensible about what he does with his dogs. He's becoming a better handler all the time. And so he wouldn't just come and get them and do that, and he would work with me some as well. But anybody else pretty much let me run them. And but the other thing is too is people need to understand that when they send a dog, you train in a completely controlled environment.
Space.
Yep. And when you take that dog from the trainer and you come and you spend a few days training, like, you have to understand that when you take that dog hunting, especially if it's its first year, that it's going to be mind blown. And as much as you commit to paying for the training, you have to commit to sitting there without a gun and training the dog to actually hunt, like be on a hunt. And as it's just as much as we're talking about going to hunt tests or things like that. You do have to build that relationship with your dog.
There's a definite bond, yeah.
Because the tool is there. I mean, I'm calling your dog a tool, but the tool is there, really, to use that analogy, I guess. Like, if you've got a tool that you don't know how to run, so like, say I give you a guitar, you don't know how to play guitar, but maybe I've played guitar my whole life. Like, you're not gonna be able to make it do shit, right?
No.
But if you practice that guitar every day, or even 5 days a week, or a few days a week, something.
Yeah, something.
As long as you're consistent with what you do, you're going to become a better handler. You're going to get better at using that tool. You know what I mean?
Yep, 100%.
But if you're not a dog handler, your dog's, you've got a high-powered tool there that you're not going to be able to help succeed at all if you're not willing to put the time in. As a handler.
I tell fellas that come out with me all the time, and they hunt, and Lander's done, like, she's done some pretty remarkable things that have even, like, impressed me sometimes, and fellas will be like, man, that's impressive, and they talk about her. I'm like, yeah, you need to understand that I'm the limiting factor to her being better. And they're like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, well, I said, because I hang out with my buddy Bill Kennedy, who's a dog trainer, right? He's trained a pile of dogs over the years. Bill Kennedy spends more time training me than he do my dog.
Yeah, Bill's a great trainer.
Yeah, right. And he spends way more time with telling me what I'm supposed to do or what I'm doing wrong than he ever do with Lander.
Yeah.
And to get to your point with what you said, though, about like somebody that just had their dog at the trainer for 3 months, and then the owner or whatever wants to try to run it in a hunt test the next day. Think about your buddy's dogs that you see all the time.
Yeah.
And then, like, say Matt's dogs. I mean, I see his dogs all the time. They're obviously well trained, but not a damn one of them will listen to me. Why is that? It's because they're bonded to Matt, right?
Yeah.
So if that dog's been at the trainer for 3 months, I mean, they don't know they're going back, and it's okay. Well, this is my guy, and he's who I listen to. And I mean, the owner comes back in and was to try to run a hunt test the next day. I think the dog would be questioning its loyalty at that point, right? I mean, it would take a little bit of time for them to get back in with the owner and rebond, right? So I think you're right there that there is definitely a factor to that.
Yeah.
Right? You're feeding the dog, you're taking care of it, you're playing with the dog, you're feeding it, you're giving it love and affection. That dog you're the most important thing in the world to that dog.
Yeah, so you're its master, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, you can't teach the dog that it's going back in 3 months, right? It doesn't know. It's like, okay,
and
this is my new life.
Even as a, like, you know, people would say to me, like, I would have obedience clients still coming for lessons, and they know I have the dogs, and a lot of times they'd be on the truck and stuff because I'd just get done training in the morning and then start lessons, and people would be like, geez, like, don't you miss them? Or like when they go, or, you know, do they remember their owners? Or you must miss them. And at first I was like, well, they're not my dog, you know, like they're other people's dogs. Like I have my own dogs. But man, I'll tell you, like when you have a dog back, like year after year,
you definitely like dogs,
and you put them through their paces. Like some of these dogs, like I've watched them grow up.
Yeah, because you do talk about some of your dogs.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh, you know, you miss them. You can tell.
I definitely do, man. Well, I'll tell you the past.
Yeah, don't take away from the fact that the dog is making a bond with you, but you're making a bond with the dog, especially when the dog does something, when you're like, let's see how this goes. I'm going to try this. And just see how the dog does. And then the dog knocks it out of the park. Yeah. Like, buddy.
Yeah, and you're proud of it.
Oh, man. Like, once you start running hunt tests and stuff and you start putting some titles on some of these dogs, and especially some of the ones you remember the most are dogs that came in and were like the underdog. You know, the one that was that struggled all year.
Who doesn't love the underdog?
And you take him to a hunt test, and it's like, man, when I got this dog, he wouldn't even get in the water, let alone swim out there and pick up a bird. And now look at him go; he's got his junior hunter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and his owners. And then you go past that, and you start into senior, and you get some of these dogs their senior hunter title, and I'm like, man. You know, like you do build a bond and you work. Like I put so much time and effort into these dogs, like way more than what I get paid for. I'll be honest and tell you that right now. And
so Bill Kennedy and I bought. We got a dog from. It was. I forget the name of the guy, but he was in PEI. It was Walt. So it was Trooper. So
Walt Vesey.
Trooper was. Yeah, it was his. His dog was the sire to the female in PEI. I forget the name of that.
Dave Butler.
Yeah, Dave Butler.
Butsy,
so we bought a pup from him, right?
Oh, I bet they're dynamite. I trained one of those,
buddy. So that dog, and I'm telling you, that dog was awesome. So here's the bond. So Bill and I shared her. Bill to have her for a month or two, and then I would take her, and then. She was just back and forth, but she was awesome, and we'd train her stuff. So both of her interior cruciated ligaments, both of them were toast.
No way.
So, yeah. So both of them were toast. Bill started noticing her. She was sitting wonky, right? And at first he just thought, she's a goofy dog, right? So maybe she's just a goofy dog, and she's just sitting a little bit different. But then she just started. So anyways, we took her to the vet and checked it all out, and both of them needed to be repaired, right? And at I think it was $8,000 a leg.
Ooh, yes, sir. Wow.
So we were like, listen, what do we do? Like, do we invest the money? We don't know if, you know, that we do the surgery. Is it going to be she turns once and then she tears it again, and then you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we found he's an old dog trainer. He's up in age now, him and his wife, and they just want a good dog.
Yep.
To hang out at the house with and do a little bit of playing here and there, but
just
nothing. Nothing strenuous on the dog. So we said So we gave the dog to him, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
But I'm going to tell you, buddy, I was upset.
Yeah.
When Bill come and got her, because she was at my house.
Yeah.
When Bill come and got her, he was going to deliver her to that guy. Like, I'm going to tell you, I was upset
I bet.
because I loved that. Like, I had a lot of, that dog was funny. She was a goofy dog, and it was a funny dog, but smart, driven, swim. I've never seen a lab swim like this one. Like, it was almost like she made a wake when she was just money in the water. But you know, she had two bad legs, and instead of putting her through the surgery and probably hurting her even more by pushing the training onto her, we just said, you know what, we'll give her to someone that's gonna you know, give her a comfort, because all she wanted to do was just be laid down by your side and you petting her, right? So so that's what we done. And I'm going to tell you, I was upset.
Well,
I'm not too ashamed to say it.
It's the last couple years, like I say, and this is definitely like that. My comment about I do way more work for them than what I'm paid for. It's not that my clients don't pay me, because they definitely do, and that's me going above and beyond, just because I've got goals for these dogs, and I've got great clients. Like, most of them will say, like, we're here in the middle of the scale for what we expect out of our dog, you know, like, we're here, but you're way up here. You know, and definitely the past couple of years, like, when I walk in the kennel and they're all gone and my daily routine is just completely stopped, I'm like, this is fucking weird. Like, you miss them, man. You do. You just miss it because we're buddies, right? Like, hey, you know, I have a lot of male dogs. Like, we're all out there ramming around several times a day. Like, we're on the truck and we're spending all day together, and we're basically hunting in the summertime kind of thing. Like, we have a great time. And then,
man, it's a strong bond.
Yeah, like, definitely.
And I mean, like I said, losing Jace there not quite a year ago, like, I mean, I've lost some people in my life, and and it's like going back to what you like, I almost felt ashamed at how bad I felt when he died. Like, I was like, it's the greatest damn loss of my life. It's crazy to think that, but
definitely.
I mean, that dog is your entire life. Like, everything we do, Lori and I, my wife, both, I mean, every single thing we do or did, I mean, it revolved around him. Like, our hobbies, our trips, everything. Yeah. And man, I'll tell you, like, to lose him that suddenly, and like, it was just absolutely devastating.
Yeah. Yeah, they get it.
Absolutely, it is.
But it speaks to the bond that you have with them, right?
And like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, everybody that has a dog that they have, that whether it's a pet or a hunting dog, whatever, they have a relationship with it and stuff.
Yeah.
And more so now. But man, I'll tell you, when you hunt with your dog and you actively train that dog, like, you've got so many good memories. And I mean, again, don't get me wrong. Like, if you're somebody that has a pet at home, I'm not trying to say that you don't love it and you wouldn't be upset when they pass. But man, when you have a dog that you train actively throughout the summer to hunt in the fall, and that dog is with you all the time, like, you've got so many stories about retrieves that they did, or in your case, birds. I mean, it could be retrieves, but birds that they pointed, or, you know what I mean? Like, just so, and your buddies can tell you stories that you wouldn't even remember. And I'm like, because you do more, you have more memories. So, yeah,
that's what I was just going to say. So you guys think about it. So this is my favorite thing, and because Lander is my first hunting dog, right?
Yeah.
And I've hung out with dudes with hunting dogs a long time and stuff. But I'm going to tell you that there's a little extra spring in my step when we go to a hunt and one of my buddies looks at me and go, man, that retrieve that she done was insane.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, buddy, I'm walking back to my truck and she's walking by my side, and the amount of, I'm like, oh yeah, you're a good girl. Oh yeah, you did it today. You worked hard today. And you know what I mean? Like, that to me, like, when somebody says that to me about like how my dog worked and it impressed them.
Yeah.
Buddy, I'm almost clicking my heels as I'm going to the truck at the end of the hunt.
Yeah.
Well, it's like us. We've been putting videos on YouTube for what, 12 years? 2011?
2011,
yeah.
And the number one most commented thing, like hands down, not even close, is the dogs. 100%.
Yeah. Oh,
like,
yeah, of course.
none.
Great dog work. Love the dogs. Always. Every video. Yeah.
Or they'll speak of a retrieve that it did or a handle or something. It's always the dogs, 100%. Like
people love that.
Well, and most of those fellas understand too, right? So most of those fellas that are watching those videos, they've hunted over bad dogs, and they've hunted over and they've never had a dog to hunt over. So when they see the dog being steady, doing what it's supposed to do, and looking like it's enjoying itself, then they're going to be impressed, because you can tell if a dog is having fun.
Oh, hell yeah.
And the bond too between the handler and the dog, like not even just when you get it takes a little time, but it's when you and the dog, when you're both finished, you know what I mean? Like he knows what the deal is, you know what the deal is. And when you send that dog and he doesn't hesitate because he knows, like, okay, I know there's something out there. Like, you've got the bond. You know, well, I can't explain it. It's just you got that bond. It's just you're a team. And, like, you don't get that out of a house pet. I don't give a shit who you are.
You don't, and that's good. I was beating around the bush there, but you punched it right in the mouth, so that's good. But
I'm good at punching things in the mouth.
And that could be because But you're absolutely right when you say that, and I mean, these dogs, it's their life. But I find that the culture with dogs now is not every video. That's a big word, but a lot of videos. It's like, man, as soon as a guy calls a shot, the dog's out in the decoys, and I'm like, what's the point of having the dog there? Like like if you're going to allow them to be out there with all that shooting, like the point of the dog is to have them pick up all the birds. And I'm like, it would be so simple to tie, if it's not steady, to just tie it up. Yeah. Over time, just by default, the dog is going to learn how to count. It is. If you just tie,
that's what I had to do with mine.
Just tie it up.
I had to do it with mine at the end of the season this year. She was breaking on me.
I tie mine up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had to.
And I'll tell you why. I never had to worry about that with Otter or Riley. Like, they were overly steady. But now that I have a high-powered dog, I'm like, he's never broke on me in the field. Mm-hmm. Do you remember any of that?
Tank?
Yeah. Have you ever seen? Okay.
Nope.
I don't want to be lying.
I don't know if I've ever seen him not staked out.
Yeah, I don't. No, he was. Some days he is. Yeah, some days I run him without it.
So no, I've never seen him break.
I run it. If I'm gonna run him without a stake, which I don't mind doing at all. Yeah. But part of the reason why I do that is because from October 1st until the first week of November, I'm guiding.
Yeah.
And it's always the time that you least expect it. It's not the first flock of birds. It's the fifth one. Well,
look at the trouble I went through with Jace.
Yeah.
It was just random.
It's a simple piece of equipment. And if your dog, if you're not going to teach your dog to be steady, or if your dog's steadiness is questionable, or if you've got a fire breather that you think may go, and especially if you've got a big group of guys, or if you normally hunt with 2 people and you're going with 10, it's a simple piece of equipment to take with you, and it's peace of mind that your dog is not going to be able to, and if it does try to go, it gets a correction, fetches up. But now you see like so many dogs running into the decoys, and I'm like,
shooting right over their freaking heads,
right over their heads. Jeez. And I'm like, man, how many of these dogs, like if you x-rayed them, would
pellets in their back,
have pellets in their ass? Like so many of them, I think. And I'm like,
we done a big goose hunt, probably around the middle of the season. And she was amped up. Like, there was a lot of birds, and fellas were dropping a lot of birds. So she was busy, and it just seemed like it was just ramping her up even more. And she broke on me, and I was like, well, I can't do that, because, and for no other reason. I don't want my dog to get shot, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I always carried a leash with me.
Yeah.
So the leash is in my bag, so I put that on her. So I put my gun away because I can't hold on to her. I didn't have anything to stake her out. I'm sitting and standing corn. So I've got to hold on to her while the boys shoot. But luckily enough, it was one of my buddies. So this guy, Trevor Davidson, he was sitting next to me. And he was like, okay, so give her to me now. I'll hold on to her so you can shoot on the next volley of birds that comes in. But I had to, because she wasn't even waiting for the birds to land.
Right.
Like,
she was really making the decision then.
Yeah, she was going. As soon as she heard take 'em, like, she was gone. You know what I mean? Like, she didn't even wait for the shot. So it was a safety thing. And you know, I was like, man, like, it really pisses me off that I got that, because she was steady, right? And then she just got
I went through that,
and she was
too.
Yeah.
Bad. It was so weird. Like with my last dog, he was younger, but I mean, he was full bore steady. Like, he never broke ever. And then I don't know, one hunting season, for whatever he might go 3 hunts and like 50 friggin' volleys of birds and never break once, and then just randomly that hunt, like the third flock, he would break for no reason.
Really, eh?
And it lasted about 3 weeks or so. And I'm telling you, that was the worst. And man, that dog could take heat.
Oh yeah,
he would run out, he would break, and I'd put my gun in the case. I'd sit out the whole hunt just to watch him, because I didn't have a stake out, just stupid, didn't know. And I would sit there with my friggin' finger on the button, watching my dog. Yeah. And man, he would break, and you can watch him in some of our old videos, and he would be running still, screaming at the top of his lungs, taking full collar.
So
screaming.
I done that with Lander this year. I put the e-collar, so I switched it from like nicking her to just on the bark. So when she'd bark, she'd get a little thing.
Yeah.
And fuck, like, that's what she'd be doing. She'd bark, and it'd fucking shock her, and she'd howl, and then she'd bark again. I'm like, you're creating your own fucking misery here.
Yeah.
Stop barking.
Well, I learned my lesson, so I've got a stake out now for Boog.
It's such a good tool. And when I see that stuff, I'm like, man, honest to God, like, your dog, think about it. Your dog, if it was made to stay there and knew that it couldn't get out, and had enough chain that if it took off, like, it would fetch up nice, and realized over the course of a season that it couldn't get away, and then decided that, hey, I'm not going to be able to get out there. I can't even move from this blind because he's watching me. Apparently he wants me to lay here and just be steady. And you didn't even maybe you let the dog go on 2 flocks out of, every hunt, or 3 flocks or whatever, every other flock or whatever, just to make sure that the dog knew, hey, I'm not going to be able to even pick up every one of these birds. Because that's another thing we do. Everything we throw and everything we follow, we think that we teach the dog that that's yours and you get to pick that up, right? When we shouldn't do that. We should show them that, hey, not every one of these is yours and you don't get to pick them all up. But
that's going to be one of my first things with him. Will be, I'm not even going to bring a gun. I'll have him staked out in the blind, and he's just going to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, just by default, honestly, over time, your dog would become a better marker. They'd become more steady. In becoming a better marker, they would learn how to count. And your whole experience would be better, and the dog would be smarter. Absolutely. They'd be happier. I mean, it's such a simple. Sean Stahl put a post on about it a couple of years ago, something, and I can't remember what it was, but specifically what it said, but it was something like, your dog should never break or never be able to break. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah,
and it was a huge thread, and it was really good, and he's not wrong at all.
No, not at all.
They shouldn't. I mean, it happens. Don't get me wrong. You're definitely not alone. We've all had dogs break.
Listen, I'd be the first person. Like, you could call me a liar if I said I didn't wish Lander stayed by my side. perfect, like a fucking statue.
Yeah.
Until I told her I'd love for her to be like that.
Yeah.
Because that's, in a perfect world, that's what you want your dog to do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's not the case. Like, that's not what's going to happen to her. So the next best thing I can do is what you said, Maddie, and same with you, Wes, is I gotta just stake her out just to make sure, because it's a safety.
There's no peace of mind, right?
Yep. There's no shame in it by any means. No. It's making sure, like, if you're not going to be sitting there actually actively watching your dog and ready to make a correction, by the time you're done shooting and you realize your dog's broken, you put your gun down, you reach for your collar, and a dog like Lander is already on the bird. And then what do you do?
Oh yeah,
nothing. You put your collar back down in the pouch, and you say, "Good girl, bring it back here." I mean, or you might not say "good girl," but I mean, at that point, she's already got the bird, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, you know, I mean, it's just one of those things that definitely, I mean, they don't do it because they want to be a dickhead. They do it because they want to get the bird.
They're just crazy driven.
It's drive and desire to get out there and get that bird. Fair enough. Yeah. Here's what you need to wait for, right?
I mean, it's a little investment for a lot of peace of mind.
Oh really. Man, I'll tell you, for me guiding, like I've definitely seen clients that brought dogs in the fall, not here, but when I was out west.
I bet
the client dogs. That was a
good push. Good push.
That just kind of fell out of there.
You got to fire it out the back, not the front.
Yeah. The dogs that come here in the fall, like, are all client dogs, like clients that have had dogs here in the summertime. So I know those dogs, right? But some of them that when I guided other places, man, I definitely couple times, once for sure, was completely surprised that a dog never got shot. It was the closest I ever saw a dog come to getting shot. Like, it was, again, I don't know how. I think if you x-rayed it, it probably had pellets in it. It just, the guy didn't want to tie it.
You think about that now. So I'm not a guide, and I'd be a horrible fucking guide even if I tried it. But like, we'll host a couple camps throughout the fall, and people will come and they pay good money to come and hang out with us and come hunt with us.
Yeah.
And in the past there's been fellas, well, can I bring my dog? Yeah, absolutely, bring your dog. Is your dog good? Oh yeah, she's awesome.
Right.
And then people would bring their dog. Their dog is not awesome.
No.
Doesn't listen, breaks. It's a safety issue. And so here's where my thinking is. You're ruining the hunt for the other 6 guys that paid money.
Yeah.
So listen, I know you love your dog and you think your dog is awesome, and that's great. And I don't want to sound like an asshole and say don't bring it. But now I tell people, I'm like, if I haven't hunted with your dog,
don't bring it.
Unless you can show me video of the dog being awesome, then I say don't bring it.
Yeah, it's just that simple, man. It's like, no, don't bring your dog. Like, I
because it's not just you that's hunting. There's other people that have spent money.
Yeah.
And can you fucking imagine, like, seriously now, try and get your head wrapped around this. If you were out hunting and you shot somebody's dog.
Jeez.
The group that I was with that day was a split group. It was a big corporate group of guys that had come, and this guy that had brought his dog was like a friend of one of these guys in this corporate group, and he had brought him along. So none of the guys that were in the blind, except for one, knew this guy.
Yeah.
And when I lost it. Remember the day that we almost got shot there on the youth hunt? About like that.
Won't forget that.
No, and Buddy went back to the truck with his dog. Like, I flew off the handle and went out and got the dog and took his leash. And I thought sure I was going home. Figured I'd be on a plane that day, which would have been fine because, I mean, you certainly don't want that on your rap sheet as an outfitter either. But, you know, anyway. But those guys were like, when we get back to the lodge, we're going in there and we're going to tell them exactly what happened here. One guy was just shaking. He's like, I don't know how I never shot that dog. You know, you know, it was pre-dawn. About 10 minutes after shooting light, the dog was at the bottom of the Mojo stake, which was like 4 feet off the ground. And they were shooting at birds that were just over top of the Mojo. So,
Jesus.
You know, it was right there. They couldn't see it because of how they had, you know, when you have your gun shouldered and your hands out on your forestock, your left hand, if you're a right-handed shooter, shooting horizontally was blocking where the dog was. It was that close. Anyway, that's scary.
But that's something awful to have to live with, you know, because nobody is purposely trying to shoot it, and then so you brought a liability to the field, and now somebody's got to live the rest of their life thinking that, fuck, I shot a dude's dog. And like, that's horrible.
And really, the thing about it is like some guys, you're absolutely right. They bring them because they think they need to, but they know that the dog isn't trained, right? And it's not in addition to the hunt. Like one of the things that I see sometimes where you can almost spot them without knowing them is when it's like 30 degrees early in the season and you're hunting a grass field and your dog has a 5mm thick neoprene vest on. I'm like, what's the point? What do we, what's the
what
point?
What do you got going on there?
What do you got going on there? Like,
what's the vest doing?
What are we doing with the vest on the dog? You know,
he looks hardcore.
He looks hardcore. Yeah. So I say this. I've said this on this podcast before, but in Robert Milner's book, he says a dog that picks up no ducks but sits in the blind quietly and calmly with the handler and just observes the hunt is a better dog than the dog that picks up all the ducks but is disobedient and has a handler that's constantly yelling and chasing after it all day long.
Yeah, that's a popular
100%.
quote. I've heard that a lot.
Yeah,
but it's 100% true.
Yeah, you don't need that dog. That's not the dog you need.
No.
Your dog is historically supposed to be there to help you, you know, to be quiet, calm, you know, cool and somewhat collected enough to, you know, do its job when the time comes, not to be a hindrance to the hunt, you know.
Like I could care less what anyone else's dog does on their hunt, but not on my hunt.
No, that's right.
Here's one for you that I've had this discussion. Haven't had it too often recently, but there a few months ago I did. So the price of dogs. So the common term I hear around here, COVID's over, so stop with the COVID prices on dogs. And I'm like, hold on now. So who are you buying your dog from? Because if you're buying it from Jimmy Bob that's got the Heinz 57 dog knocking up his lab and charging $2,000, well, you're right. But if you're buying from a breeder, like, and I only just recently started to learn all this stuff, but the friggin' x-rays and all of the shit that you got to do, the insurance,
medications
all
and
this stuff. Yeah, like if you think that these breeders, like the breeders are making money, yes, because it'd be a stupid business if they weren't making money.
Well, yeah, exactly. Who's going to go through that work and money if you're not making money, right?
But the amount of work that a litter of puppies is, it's insane, buddy. I did it with just one puppy. And there was mornings I was like, man, can you just sleep? For fuck's sake. Like, a baby wasn't as hard as what a puppy was.
Yeah.
And then times that by 8, 10, 12.
8.
It's crazy.
But then my thing that I said, you'd go out and spend $2,500 on a gun. Yeah. I'm like, but the dog does all your work for you.
Yeah.
Like all you're doing with the $2,500 gun, you're pointing it, you're killing it. But the dog is what's going out and running around. If you're a good shot and you got birds, like the dog is doing all the work. you're sitting on your ass the whole time. But yet, if it's like, I would say, and I haven't looked at the prices recently, but I would say you're not getting a quality dog under $2,000 now.
No. I mean, and I'll
what
be
is
the first.
What is it going right with labs, Matt? I don't really know.
It's up to about $2,000 now, but
yeah,
or like 2,500 or $3,000. It
I
just
would
depends.
think 25.
It just depends, and definitely in the hunting dog world like that, or the field trial dog world, where they're so highly decorated, you would think they would be worth a lot more, and they should be. But I'm telling you, being involved in the pet world as I am, I definitely see a lot of dogs that is one breed of dog mixed with another breed of dog that's hypoallergenic and whatever breed that ends up.
Purebred, whatever
whatever name they give that at the end of the day. And those dogs are worth maybe not
big money.
They're fetching huge money, $5,000-6,000. I'm like, my dog has a national field trial champion for a father, and probably will have had his mother's a high point dog in Canada last year. Like, and he was $2,500.
Yeah,
that's a bargain.
You know what I mean?
Well, when you think about the work that goes into that,
I know.
It's crazy, because I agree with you. Like, I've got friends that have bought, like, whatever, those little tiny, like, dogs you can put in your friggin' purse and stuff like that. Like, they're paying $2,000. They're paying $2,000 for one of them, and all that does is eating shit. Like, it does nothing else.
Well, eating shit on a piss pad in the house.
and I mean, you're talking about like what breeders have to go through. I mean, to have dogs certified to breed, like if you're a good breeder doing the job. I mean, I've got, like, Tank is intact, and I had his hips tested, I had his eyes checked, and we did genetic testing for EIC, CNM.
There's make sure it's all clear.
And there's all kinds of things there that you can genetic test for when you send those blood swatches in. But that's right there. That's 3 different vets. Okay, when you get their hips tested, they have to be sedated.
Yeah.
And that's X-rays, and then you go to do their eyes, and that's a different vet. And then when I did his genetic testings, blood swatches, that was another vet. Like, it definitely is to do it properly. I mean, they make money, but if you figured it out per hour, like,
well, it's not a get rich plan, that's for sure.
Not if you care. No. I mean, the people that are actually making a lot of money off it are the people that
puppy mills.
Puppy mills, man. They just put a couple dogs together and away
designer little shit poos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because I want to breed Lander, right? I want to get a litter out of her. The problem with her is that Lander's 3 years old now.
Yeah. Right
now, she's just hit her second heat cycle. So she hasn't had a regular heat cycle.
No.
So in planning for this, for me to get her eyes done, I had to drive to Ottawa. So I had to do a 2.5 hour drive.
Yeah.
Just to go down to the vet, just for him to check her eyes and say that her eyes were good.
Yeah.
So not only is the vet expensive, but listen, the fuel and that's half a day to go down there and do that. Plus the vet that I had to do for hips, that was another drive, another hour away from where I live. So like, if you think that these breeders are just making hand over fist on money, because what people see is they're like, well, you had 8 dogs at $2,000 a piece. That's a pretty good living right there.
$18,000. Yeah. Well, besides the fact that all the training you've put into the dog and all that stuff is a fucking bargain, really.
The ones making the money are the ones breeding those tiny little dogs that are purebred whatevers, and it says have had all their first shots. Period. The end. Nothing else. They've had their shots. They've got a litter of 12, and that's it. No testing, no nothing.
I could talk about this stuff all day because since
well, we've got an hour and 37 minutes about it so far.
So far, yeah, we've got like a page. We've got like a page full of questions to talk to that we were going to ask you about, and it always we always go down this road every time. Yeah.
But that's good. That's what we do.
Yeah, but this is a good topic to go down because it seems like as much information as there is out there, there's still people that, you know, they still need to hear it because, and I would have been one of those, I was one of those people that needed to hear it too. I just need, instead of getting it from a faceless person on the internet, I had to get it from a friend. Yeah. That's when it sunk in, right? It was when somebody I knew was telling me.
And man, I'll tell you something, like to have him close to be able to train with, like the average person will say, how many dogs do you think you'd have in your life? 6?
6, yeah.
6 or 8.
I'm on my third.
Depending on if you have like multiple dogs. Yeah. We'll say 6 or 8. So if you're the type of person that gets a dog, trains it, you know, once it's like 10 years old, then you get another one. And and then that one, you'll get another one when it's 10 years old kind of thing. Like every time you do that, it's been 10 years since you trained a puppy.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going through that now.
And even myself, like when I'm going to do a certain part of my program, I have the DVDs and I have the manuals, and I always go back through and read them.
Yeah.
But like last summer, I put 6 dogs through the basics program. And man, like I learned every summer I've got one dog that's like 1 or 2 dogs that's going through like the second part of it, like a senior level part or whatever. But last year I had all those dogs going through at the same time. And man, I learned so much from that. I'm like, most people would never get the opportunity to learn this much in a fucking lifetime. Yeah. And I'm like, if you have somebody close that's like a pro or somebody that's a successful handler, like in competition or whatever, like those people, if they're willing to work with you, like, man, their knowledge is you know, you can't help but learn things. And there's so many little parts and pieces that you'll get stuck on that, you know, there's no out for in your program or whatever, that people like that have those opportunities will just be like, oh yeah, you'll run into that. I've seen that before. Here, just try this with the dog and give that a week or 2 of doing that. And you'll be set. That'll straighten them right out. Get you right back on the path again.
Yeah. Absolutely, man.
I had to go back through and review both of my training videos, like Evan's SmartWorks program for retrieving, and then Perfect Start, Perfect Finish for pointing. So, because I mean, I forgot a lot of it.
Oh fuck, man, yeah,
It's been 9 years
now, buddy. Now, Wes, I'm going to tell you, just in December, I done my first pheasant hunt. With GSP. So one was a Vizsla, which was a puppy.
Yes, sir.
So she's doing really well. So she's about a year old. Yeah. And then the other 2 were GSPs or whatever.
GSP,
yeah, GSP. And I'm going to tell you, buddy, as impressive as what, you know, a lab is and retrieving and that's pretty goddamn impressive too, to watch a dog that's pointing. Now the Vizsla was amazing, but she was still only a year old, right? So she wasn't
she's just learning.
So she wasn't as steady as what the owner wanted her to be, but she was fucking pointing and she was good. But those GSPs, buddy, I couldn't get over how like that's a well-trained dog, that pointing, like a well-trained dog to be able to pull that shit off.
It's a whole different ball game. Like it's
big time.
It's just fun. I really enjoy having a versatile dog. Like I like to hunt upland a lot in the afternoons after a waterfowl hunt. I like to hunt ducks and geese, and then I also use my dog for blood tracking. Not New Brunswick. Just kidding. they can kiss my ass.
Why is that illegal?
I don't freaking
Where
know.
does it say that?
I don't know.
I don't think it does.
I
Somebody else said that to me the other day. Or I say the other day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a common theme here. The other day.
That's in New
It's
Brunswick.
probably 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know what I mean? But I was like, nobody's ever said to me, or I've never seen
It was a big thread on Canadian hunting dogs. That woman was trying to make it legal. Remember, it was a huge thread that broke out there, and I'm like, I don't give a crap.
You can do it in Ontario, I know.
Oh, you can do it everywhere.
Yeah.
But everyone, I don't know if it's actually is illegal here or what the deal is.
Yeah.
But I mean, I take my dog out on a check cord, and he's trained for blood tracking, and we blood track.
Yeah, I don't. That'd be a tough one for them to come after you for, I think. See what the issue would be.
I'm just out for a walk in the woods.
Yeah, what would be the problem as long as your dog's under control?
Yeah. Yeah, you're not allowed to have a dog at large or something like that. But how are you allowed to bird hunt with a dog?
Well, this is it. If your dog's actively working for you.
But no, it's fun, man. I do enjoy hunting over a pointing dog.
But it's a good time. And you're seeing the dog work, do what it loves. I don't know. It was the first time I had done a pheasant hunt with dogs, and I just thought it was the coolest thing in the world to watch them. Just no, you're gone too far. Yeah, I don't want you going all the way over there. Or come back here. Just keeping the dogs sort of. Because, Matt, like even in the senior hunter and master hunter, like you've got to do some quartering.
Yep.
But like really, the quartering is not like what a fucking hunt, like an upland dog would do.
No,
right? So,
it's a different level.
Yeah, totally different level. So when I say Lander can quarter, she can quarter, but she's not going. Like I would have torn my hair out if I would have took her on a pheasant hunt.
Yeah. Yeah, do
you know what I mean? It's a totally different thing.
Definitely, and that part, unfortunately, that part of our hunt test system has kind of, it's kind of gone to the wayside because it's not really done right here, which is a shame because of kind of our laws with birds in captivity and whatever. But part of me wishes that. I'd like to see it one of two ways. Either we're going to do it right and there's going to be a standard, or we're just not going to do it at all. What the fuck's the point?
I don't know why they even have it anyway.
It's fucking stupid.
So
it pisses me off.
I thought I read or I was told that next year it's going to be gone in hunt tests.
I don't know why they keep it.
It probably will be, because I've actually seen dogs. I've actually seen dogs fail tests because of that. Because of like a bird, a dead bird being thrown out of a winger right at the dog, and it lands on the ground, and I'm like, like it's not that's I don't know. Anyway, it's not done right. It kind of pisses me off a little bit, But anyway, I just wish it would be one or the other. Here's the standard. This is the way you got to do it, and we're either going to do it this way, and we're gonna actually score and mark these dogs on quartering, and it's gonna be, done properly, legitimate quartering. We're gonna make sure that we have a place to do it. And we're going to do it right, and it's not just going to be a little jerked off part of the test that we have to do because it's in there. Yeah. Or we're just not going to do it at all. One of the two. Like no in between. Yeah. Fuck.
I agree with you. I think it's going to be gone next year. Seems like I read that that it's going to be gone next year. So
because it is true. I mean, you go watch a versatile, like a pointing dog, or like a versatile dog that does retrieve and points, or even a pointer or whatever, setter. I mean, you watch them work a piece of cover for pheasants or partridge or whatever, or quail or something like that. I mean, it's not the same. Like those dogs they've learned how to hunt and work the wind, and they know how to work a bird, how much pressure they can put on it. They know how to relocate. Like there's just so much to it. Like, I mean, I had a lab, and I mean, I hunted a lot of partridge with it. I mean, he's a flusher. Like he's in there, he's busting birds, and that was his job, and he was good at it. But around here, that's hard. They do make really good pheasant dogs, though.
Oh, I'm sure.
But yeah, it is fun. I love it. I just love hunting with a damn dog. I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit if it's running rabbits with beagles or whatever. I love it.
For sure. Boys, that's a pretty good run on the dogs. We should ask them a couple of these questions. Break it up maybe a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what you got going on with Punisher right now.
What do you got going on for 2023?
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, and Matt, I told you about it, so the biggest thing, the Toronto Sportsman Show is happening the 16th to the 19th of March.
Yeah. So
last year we attended. We set up a little booth, and what we noticed was that there was nothing for waterfowl there. So the only thing that was there, Dive Bomb had a little booth set up, and I say little, but it was a good booth. Like, they did it the right way. And then there was a guide there. A guide that I had never heard of in Ontario. So that was it. So last summer I approached the general manager of the Toronto Sportsman Show, and I told him, listen, you're missing out on a group of hunters. So I sold him on this idea of, why don't you give me some real estate, and I will bring in some waterfowling businesses, and we'll set up an area called the Refuge, and it will be an area 100% dedicated to waterfowl hunters. So that is what's occupying pretty much all of my bandwidth right now, except for the podcast and some other little things. So trying to get that ready for merch, and it's good. I wish, and as you guys know, like in Canada, like Canada is so fucking massive.
We're spread out. Yeah.
We're so spread out. So and I know, I knew that you guys weren't going to be able to come, Matt, but it was one of those things where I was like, if I don't ask him, and then he finds out that I done it, well, then he's going to be pissed because I didn't ask him.
He's going to get all emotional about it.
He's going to get all emotional about it and stuff, right? But, and not only are we so spread out and vast, but there's not a lot of true waterfowl industry in Canada, right? Everything comes from the States.
Very small percentage of the outdoor industry up here. Yep.
That's right. So now I've got to rely on American businesses to come across to the border. And you know what? A lot of them would, if it wasn't for some of our stupid laws when it comes to importing things in, crossing the border with the dollar, all that stuff works against us, right? Because a lot of the businesses were like, man, I really wish we could, because I think it would work. So anyways, instead of being a complete downer, it is going to be a great show. Real Geese is coming up from Ohio. Delta Waterfowl is going to set up a booth there. Ducks Unlimited is setting up a booth.
Good.
Stoker Canada is coming in, setting up a booth. We're going to be there. And we've got a couple others that are kicking tires right now, but I really can't say, just because we don't know for sure if they're going to come 100%. But it's lining up to be a good event. I'm an optimist, right? I'm a glass half full kind. Yeah.
Do you want to throw out some specifics on here, or would you rather not?
No, absolutely. So all it is, 100%, it's an opportunity for the waterfowler in Canada, because this is something that I feel, and I'm sure a lot of other waterfowlers feel in Canada, is that we're like the ugly stepchild of the hunting community, right? Yeah. Because Canada is a big game country. Fishing and big game is what we do in Canada, right?
Yeah.
So, there's more duck stamps sold in Pennsylvania than there are in all of Canada.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh,
so we're small time that way, but we still make a pretty big impact in the economy though too, right? So I don't want to we may be small in size, but we still
it's a market.
Generate it.
Well,
it is.
On a world scale, we're probably second as far in the hunting industry, as far as like money spent and size and popularity.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't hear about other countries that are into hunting as much as we are here.
Absolutely, you're right. So I think it's going to be a success, but it is the first year. So the Toronto Sportsman Show was going downhill. Last year it was purchased by a new company last year. So last year was their first year, and it was the first time since coming out of the pandemic. So there was a lot of businesses didn't have stock because they were still fighting that supply chain issue from Asia. So there was a lot of vendors that didn't have stock, that didn't set up. So this year should be better. And it's going to be our first year for the refuge. So hopefully, we can build on it, but it's going to be a good event. We're going to have some people do some seminars, talk about some gear,
that's good.
That kind of thing. Yeah. And just try to make it as much educational and as much fun as we can. One of the dog trial clubs, they're going to be there. They're going to do,
good.
So, and I guess back in the day, that was a really big thing to show. Like Purina Canada used to come and do a big thing and all of this stuff, right? So it used to be a really big deal. Then it sort of went.
They all kind of got like
died.
That. It seems like boats and ATVs start creeping in and then you don't see that. You know, just kind of takes away from the show a little bit because booth space can be a challenge for some people. The cost of those things, but I mean,
and that's the thing. Like Toronto is not a cheap show to come to, right?
Well, that's the thing, man. I mean, we'll take for the Moncton Sportsman Show. I mean, you got guys there, boat companies, they're selling $1.5 million boats. Like they can, like what's a $1,500 or $2,000 booth to them? It's literally nothing. Whereas you take a small mom and pop hunting store, like they can't throw down like that for a booth, and it faded out.
We can't either.
No, exactly, right.
Last year we went because a friend of ours, Lori Ann Horse, she was given, she had a company that was sponsoring her. They sponsored her a double booth, and she said, I only need half of it. So do you want to? So she gave it to a small husband and wife business that make fishing tackle. So she gave it to them one day, and then the next day she gave it to us. That was the only way that we could have got in there, because we don't generate money to be able to go to staying in Toronto in hotels for 4 nights and meals and all that stuff. So I get it. I understand. And I understand how challenging it is for businesses, but I also, the biggest thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to challenge the consumers too, because we've got it. I see it here all the time where you hear fellas, well, the show was stupid. There was no vendors there. It sucked. It was this and that. But yet, the $5 cover that you were given a ticket for, you took your ticket, went around, seen everything, and walked out, and then gave your ticket to your buddy so he could come in. Like you wouldn't even spend the $5 for the admission fee. So, you know what I mean? So like a lot of it's on the consumer. I get it, the vendors, but if people are willing to spend the money, vendors are going to come.
I miss the sportsman shows. Like, frig, we used to have a bunch around here. Man, it's a good time to go and hang out there on a Saturday or a whole weekend.
When I lived in just outside of Ormonto, there was one that was down Rothsay, I think, is where it was, and it was in a hockey rink. And man, like
that
I
might
went
have been
down there.
Sussex.
Maybe Sussex. And I remember I went down there and bought. This was first when the wind-powered Mojos come out. And I went down there. There was a fella down there, and he was selling them. And I remember I drove down, and I bought one. And of course, I brought my kids and wife with me when I got. And I was blown away. I was like, man, this is impressive. Like, and it was a hockey rink, and it was full. And these things are, Amazon and all that stuff is awesome, but it's killing somebody.
It's killing stores, because I mean, and we used to go to those shows, and they'd always have they'd have sportsman show deals and stuff, and frig, we go and spend money and buy stuff.
Oh
and
man, there was always like
so fun
call companies, and we'd always have calling competitions at every one of those shows. We had 3 or 4. We had a pretty good circuit around, and there always was like show promotions, and that one specifically, if that's the same one in Sussex, it was all hunting. Like it was a good show. There was a lot of shit there and stuff you could buy, and like giveaways going on, and they have tried to do that more, but definitely people are just so conditioned to buy things online, but yet we all want something to do, so if the opportunity's there to go and see something like that, and there's going to be some shit around, like definitely. And you're right, if you could have got some of those other companies to come up and do that with you, like that would just add that much more value, you know what I mean? Like I went to shows up there, used to go to that one in Tweed. Did you ever go there?
Yeah. And that was another one. That was one that, the guy was trying his damnness to turn that into a success.
Yeah.
But yet all people done was complain, well, there's no vendor. Well, then spend some friggin' money.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you, the fella that's running that, when he's going around and asking for vendors, if he says we brought in $650,000 in 2 days, and you say that to a vendor, he's packing his trailer and he's on his way. Yeah. Because if he knows there's money being spent, he's going to come.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, I mean, you get a bunch of tire kickers. I mean, no one's going to pack up their entire store and spend an entire day driving it there to the show, setting up, not selling anything, taking a whole other day, taking it back to the store, not to not sell anything. Like, it just.
Absolutely. It's got to work both ways, right? Like the vendors got to be able to, like you guys said, there's got to be an incentive for the customer to come. So so it's show prices, 20% off everything, whatever, what I mean? So they did their part. They're giving you a deal. Yeah. Okay, so now you do your part. You come in and spend some money.
Because no tax, sales, anything.
Yeah, and let's face it, you're going to buy the gear. Like, you're going to get it. Yeah. So why not, instead of just doing it on the computer, come out and help out and try and promote this thing, because I really would like to see a resurgence in this world where people are coming out and these shows are becoming, like, I don't buy anything unless I've touched it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a nice thing about a show, going and looking at it, holding it in your hand, trying it on, like
I'm going to tell you, I don't blindly buy duck decoys off the internet unless I've hunted over them and I've lifted them and I've hooked them up to Texas rigs and thrown them over my back. Like, I don't care what the brand name is. If I don't touch them, I'm not buying them. Yeah. So, I think we need some more of that. But anyways, that's the show, and I'm anticipating it's going to be good. I just had this optimist attitude. I just assumed that I was going to have everybody was going to be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's come in and let's blow this thing out of the water. But I understand some of the reservations of the vendors, right? And I totally get it. But anyway, so that's what's going on there. The podcast is still doing good. We're still kicking that out every week.
Yeah, you guys you do good at that, getting it out on a regular basis. Well, that's something we struggle at.
Yeah, we've kicked this year off good. We've got a good plan. Last year we didn't get as many out as we wanted to, but we did a lot. We did a lot of videos too. Yeah, last year.
See, and that's the thing you guys are kicking our ass on, is we're not putting out nearly enough content. Like, even like compared to you guys, we're at a fraction of what you guys are putting out. But like, I don't work. I'm fully retired, right? So I've got the time to to reach out and get guests and set up a podcast.
Yeah.
You guys all work. You guys all have jobs, right?
Yeah.
So it's easy for me to keep pounding them out every week, because what else am I going to do, really, right?
Well,
like this
it is your job.
That is your job. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
you've made that in your job, which is great, man. I mean, that's a hell of a thing to be doing. I mean,
you know, so
we're trying to do the same.
Yeah.
yeah. And you know what? This is what I've had to talk to a few people over the last few months, right? And people are like, man, you know, you guys are doing good. And I'm like, yeah. I said, not bad for a brand that's been on the go for 7 years, eh?
Yeah.
And they were like, 7 years? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you think this all happens overnight?
Yeah.
You know, like I know there's some bad examples out there of people that are on TikTok and make one video and
Goes viral.
it goes viral and they're making. That's not how it works for everybody else.
No,
like,
not in this country.
Years.
The other 1% grind their asses off for several years.
Yeah, we're everything. You know, you talked about the industry, a little bit, and one of the things we wanted to talk about with you too is social media and like the algorithms,
the censorship of anything to do with guns and hunting.
But you, and I want to get into that here in a sec, but you talk about the industry, and when you're like 1% of the scale of the industry, like, and you're from Canada, like it's not easy to bust into that. And you know,
and here's so I don't know if you guys have had experience, and by no means am I, like, I'm not shitting on Canadians, because I'm a very proud Canadian, but this is something that I've noticed. So we've got our little show. It's nothing extravagant. It's nothing flashy. There's shows that are followed way more than us, and those guys are big deals. But you know, I can reach out to a Canadian company. Let's say somebody that's in the outdoor world, the hunting world, whatever, but they're a Canadian-owned, Canadian-operated company. I can reach out to those guys and say, hey, listen, this is who I am. We do this show. We'd love to have you come on the show and talk about your thing, because we're Canadian. We'd like to promote Canadian.
Sure.
And, you know, we'll get, like, I won't even get an answer back from those companies, because, and I tell you, this is my theory, and anybody can prove me wrong on this, but what I think is that as Canadians, we need to be blessed by the Americans before anybody will take us serious. I can tell you that in a week, my analytics tells me, so every week when we drop a show, 85 to 90% of the viewers of our show come from the States.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Pretty similar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? And and like, those guys are like, man, I love what you guys are doing. And I know you guys get the same messages, right? Love what you're doing, nice and relaxed. No hidden agendas. You're just real dudes. This is what it sounds like when you're in the blind.
Just shooting the shit.
Just shooting the shit. I can read, like, and you guys know, because you guys know a lot of the same people that I do, but like, I'm still floored. Like, it still blows my mind that Jeff Coates calls me up in the day just to chat.
Yeah. He's a solid guy, eh?
Oh, buddy,
he's such a solid guy. Dude. Yeah, he's just such.
Like, I can reach you.
Just such a solid of the earth fella.
Oh yeah. But like, I can reach out to businesses down the States and tell them who I am. Yeah, man, when do you want us? We'd love to come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, like, the longer you're in, we'll say, okay, so here's the umbrella of the outdoor industry. And the longer you're in that, but specifically the waterfowl industry, you realize just how small it is.
Oh,
man,
it is
there would be more
small
white-tailed deer hunters in Pennsylvania than there are waterfowl hunters in North America, probably.
Yeah, I mean, it's the waterfowl industry is small. I'll say, like, it's tightly knit. But I'm here to tell you, I would like to. I bet we're top of the scale for money spent.
100%, man.
On equipment.
There's nobody that spends more money than waterfowl hunters.
I agree with you.
Not even
100%.
close.
So
not even close, buddy.
So when you think about that, and you think about all, like, we'll say the top guys that are in the industry, like, it's small. It's small, and like, if you start hammering out names, like if you know Jeff Coates, like, you know, he's a big name in the industry, but he's just a guy. You know what I mean? And he's not like, Jeff's done really well for himself, and he could be arrogant if he wanted to, but he's just such a solid fella.
I find that just in hunters in general.
Yeah.
I mean, even
all the fellas that I've met that have come on, like fellas that I've watched on TV or watched their videos, and people that I've followed over the years. Yeah. That's what I've found. Like when they've come on the show, they are absolutely no different than me whatsoever.
No, just a guy.
Exact same thing. Yeah. But the thing that, and I remember Corey Fawcett saying it to me from Tango Free when we chatted with him. And he said, you know, people think that, and this would go for everybody, right? So you look at Higdon and Avian X and all these companies, whoever it is, Tango Free, all of them. If you think these guys are like filthy friggin' rich, you got another thing coming because it plays into what you were saying, Wes. Like and same with you, Matt. It's not this great big industrial machine that's just pumping money out. It is a small community.
It's tiny.
Yeah.
It's tiny. And
go ahead. Keep going.
Go for it. No, go for it.
Like you think about even say on social media, what waterfowler would have the biggest following? Like, I mean, Fred Zink, John Stevens,
Tony Vandermoor.
Tony would be the biggest.
Yeah, Fred Zink wouldn't even really be like that high up there.
What would Tony Vandermoor have for followers on Instagram, I wonder?
Oh, geez.
Like,
Tony's good. Tony's really good, but I think a lot of Tony's deal is that his wife is so good on social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, Tony's well spoken,
and he is famous from before too. Like he was a ball player.
He definitely is, but his consistent presence on there, I think is
and it's epic presence.
Yeah.
Like if I had a choice to go hunting anywhere with anyone, he'd be first choice.
Oh, I've always,
and that's strictly because of following him on Instagram.
Tony's got 225,000 followers.
Okay,
right?
and he's probably the biggest.
He's probably the most followed. Yeah.
I would think. Yeah,
he puts out a lot of content.
So he's in the top 5. So now compare that to
Big Game.
So who's I don't follow Big Game.
Lee and Tiffany, maybe.
I can think of a couple. Cam Haynes. Cam Haynes has got over 1 million, like 1.4. Steve Ranella over 1 million.
But those guys, so Ranella and who's the other guy you just said, Wes?
Cam Haynes. He's a big game hunter.
Yeah, but he's an author too, right? So he's got a couple different streams.
Been on with Jocko Willink. Yeah, Shockey would be a good.
I think Jim's 400,000 or something, 500.
So Jim Shockey is 430,000.
Yeah.
So he's doubled what Vandermoor is.
He's probably got 1 million.
He was like 600 and something thousand, I think.
Yeah.
But and Jim is probably not out there as much as what he was 10 years ago.
Well, Jim is older, right? So social media is not even. I think Jim still makes all his own Instagram posts. I know he does. Like you can tell by reading them.
I'm pretty sure he does. Yeah.
Right.
So like the waterfowling industry, it is small, and like the thing that I like about it, and now with getting to meet the people, so like Foskett from Tango Free, Sean Stahl, these guys, like. And I know Sean Stahl and Tango Free, like they have a relationship. They've been working together for years. But even if it's competing companies, like they all know one another. They've all hunted together at some point.
Yep.
They've all worked together in the same outfit at some point, that because it's just that small of a world. It's just one person has an idea, they run with it, and that's what I love about Americans, is that when they get something in their head, they just go with it, right? And that's like with Jeff Coates. I tell him all the time, like I live here right on Lake Ontario. We've got some amazing diver hunts here in Lake Ontario, right? And I'm like, how nobody in Ontario has a boat like yours and is guiding Ontario for divers and making a fortune, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he was like,
really?
yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I was like, because Canadians, we're not bred that. We're not bred to go above and beyond. Like Jeff Boats, like Jeff is an awesome dude, and he does a lot of really good things, and he puts on some great hunts. But listen, there's a lot of people like, and Jeff can market himself, I think, better than most people.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Like when
he's good,
right? And he uses that hashtag all the time. World's largest duck boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When people see that, they're like, the world's largest duck, I gotta see what this is. Right? Jeff is brilliant when it comes to marketing himself and getting out there and stuff. So
well, the big thing,
I love it.
The big thing here in Canada too is like, it wasn't that long ago. Like it's been in the last 5 years. Like 5 years ago, we'll say, if you were watching a show on Wild TV, just by the type of decoys that were being used, and I mean, obviously the scenery, but you could tell where guys were in this country. And if you saw like big shell decoys and guys just, you know, not even using, like maybe using layout blinds, but most likely hunting out of a willow blind over magnum shell decoys, probably no full bodies at all. You know they were out west. You would just, you know, you just know it. Cause I mean, that's, you know, I've had these decoys for 40 years and this old Big River flute, and that's all I need. You know what I mean? Nothing's ever changed. And like, man, the industry is like blown up, and you're still using that that old stuff. And I mean, like when you talk about nobody guiding on Lake Ontario, like, you know, it's just one of those things here. There's just not a lot of people, and it just, you know, nobody would. I don't know. It's funny that way.
Yeah, it is.
You know,
but we're not, as Canadians, we're not over the top.
No.
Look what I can do either.
Yeah.
Right?
No.
And you know, we're not bred that way. So,
No.
And I like the way, I like it that we're not bred that way. It's just sometimes I wish that, you know, we would take a little bit extra. Sometimes take a chance when you can see an opportunity and go, yeah. Now, anybody listening to this could say, well, why don't you go buy a boat, Damien, and you do it, right? And touche. Like, why don't I go buy a boat and do it? But it just, you know, that's the sort of thing. It is a crazy small world, but so we've been doing that podcast now. We've got 130 episodes out. We just recorded 130 last night.
I think that's 115 more than us.
We enjoy it.
But you know, everybody I've met, and now, and same with, and I include you guys into it. Like, I've got friends now that I would never have had I had not started that podcast.
Yeah.
And do you notice?
And it's, go for it.
I was going to say, do you, like, this is a two-part question. Yeah. You said that when you're trying to get guests for your podcast, like you're reaching out to companies in the States and stuff like that.
Yes. Yep.
One, do you notice that because of the way you were talking about people are down there, that they're pretty willing to work with you? And number two, we kind of touched on this before. Do you notice a big difference in like where you are getting traction from with your podcast? Like, do you notice that your numbers are dropping other places just because of some of the censorship that's going on with hunting and firearms and things like that?
No. So the only place that I've seen any real, so YouTube is starting to clamp down on it.
Big time.
But see, you guys would notice that way more than I would, because you guys do so much video where you're showing your hunts, right? Where our videos are usually a gear review or a little bit of dog training and the podcast, right? Like we hardly film any hunts.
Yeah.
So you guys would see that way more before me. But now on social media side of things, so like Facebook and TikTok, we dipped into TikTok. That lasted for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we got the hell out of that.
Yeah.
But the censorship that's down. So let's use TikTok for an example. It's completely okay for a 40-year-old woman to show up and just show off everything that she's got,
Mm-hmm.
and nobody bats an eye at. But yet, my dog bringing back a bird in her mouth,
Yeah.
that violates community guidelines.
Yeah.
That tells me that the world is like we're failing as a society.
Yeah.
We're fucked. Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
we've noticed it on even like on Instagram, trying to grow and get like, man, zero growth hardly. Like,
Yeah.
because it doesn't
Yeah.
get shared.
Really struggled.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
show any of your stuff, like nothing. I mean, and Instagram
Yeah.
or YouTube, you look at some of the bigger waterfowl channels on YouTube, like some of them up there around 30,000 subscribers on
Yeah.
YouTube. Man, they're getting like 4,000 or 5,000 views on a video.
Yeah. Like
It's insane.
Claudio and Garo. And
I mean, they used to get
Yeah.
like 80,000 views on a video.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
it's crazy.
I'll tell you
Yeah,
what's really brought some of our followers around as of late is the reels,
Mm.
Instagram reels.
So a lot of people. So I don't know if you guys know who this dude is, but he's out of Ohio. His name is Brian Ellithorpe, and he's like a media guy, anyways, right? So he knows video production and all this shit. So he, I don't know, man. Like he just blew up overnight. Like his YouTube went through the roof, and I went on chatting with him. I was like, oh yeah, Brian's a big deal. He hangs out with us peasants and stuff, right? And he told me, he was like, YouTube has reels now.
Yep.
So there's an option for
Shorts,
reels.
yeah.
Shorts, that's what it's called. He said to me that most of his subscribers has come from his shorts, not from his hunt videos.
Really?
So the short, yeah. He told me, because I've done like little 2-minute videos with Lander or Dave has done something, and he was like, you guys got to put that on YouTube. And I'm like, what? I was like, nobody wants it. He was like, yeah, man. He said, that's YouTube's competition to Instagram's reels. He said, and they're getting shown, and that's how he blew up was those shorts. I'm telling you, man, like that. I think if you think you figure out the algorithm, they change it. Like it's a constantly evolving thing. So I don't think you're ever going to be ahead of the game on it. I think you're always going to be trying to catch up to the algorithm. And yeah, like Dave. So my business partner, Dave, like Dave's a smart dude. He spends a lot of time researching this stuff. And he's like, man, we're always chasing our tail, because just when you think you got to figure it out, they change it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because that is
hard,
something
man.
we literally just started, was the YouTube so the shorts or whatever.
Yeah.
But the only crappy thing about that, it doesn't go towards your watch hours. And
doesn't it?
Nope. And a lot of, and so far, like we haven't seen any subscribers out of it yet, like not even one.
Oh.
No,
So,
we've
but-
got some watch time, but I'll tell you where we have seen growth is
definitely
on Instagram
Yeah.
with our
the
followers.
reels. Yeah.
Because
With your reels,
for whatever reason, I've been trying to make one and post one every 2 to 3 days, and some of them now. I put that one on yesterday. Just decided to use Alice in Chains as a sound, and I put all the clips in slow motion, and that video has got more views already than the last 3 that I posted. But I've also got 2 on there that I just whipped up. One of them kind of quick, a video of our trailer going down the highway, and it's fuck, I don't know how many views.
It's like 70 or 80,000 plays or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's got like 6,000 likes on it. It just took off, and there's another one there too.
I know last year, and I haven't asked Jeff Coates about it this year because he's crazy busy right now. But last year, I know he told me that, and you guys know Jeff, right? So Jeff he was making like quality video, right, for his YouTube channel, like properly done, edited it, and all that stuff. Last year, at one point last year, I'll say it was probably halfway through his season, he just started with his phone, just 30 seconds to 2 minutes with his phone. It's shaking. He's out in the boat, which is what you see a lot of his stuff now. He told me that he's seen a substantial growth when he switched from doing what I'll call a professional video compared to just taking it with his phone. Substantial growth. Substantial.
Yep.
It's crazy, man. Like, that's what I mean. Like, you're always trying to catch up, right? Like, who knows what the next
And that guy right there is on top of it. Jeff Coates is the reason that we didn't produce a DVD back in those days. Yeah. Jeff looked me square in the eyes on the Deer Island Ferry and said, "Matthew, you guys need to be going on YouTube. Yeah. It's free.
That's what we did.
You can post your videos on there. You don't have any overhead. You don't have to get people to buy your videos. Go if you got video content you want to post, edit it as best you can and put it on YouTube." And we've never looked back, have we?
No.
And Instagram has when TikTok kind of started to take over, because that just feeds what everybody's dopamine wants, right? That quick video, and if you don't like it, you just keep scrolling. You just scroll. Instagram a couple of years ago, the CEO came right on and said, "Look, this is no longer a photo platform," which it used to be, you know, for nice photos. It's all about the video content, the reels. Where you go from there, I'm not sure. But and how you figure out the algorithm, I don't think you ever do. But I think to be consistent in what you post, like every couple days, you're putting something on there for your, the algorithm to kind of take a bite of. Every so often you're going to have one take off.
I know Bobby Hayes. I've talked to Bobby Hayes about this a fair amount. And Bobby's a pretty smart dude too, that puts a lot of time and effort into trying to figure these things out. And I remember last year him telling me the same thing, like, things that he thought would work wouldn't. And then the things that he thought wouldn't work was working. Like it's like you're living in bizarro world.
Yeah. Yep. Like no rhyme or reason to anything.
Yep. It is. I mean that algorithm is artificial intelligence. Yeah. There is no rhyme or reason. We can't figure it out. It's it's a damn computer program.
But YouTube, there's definitely a censorship though going on.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, and you got to look at it like, YouTube's coming out of California, right? So probably the most liberal state in the entire United States, where everything is on lockdown in California, right? So it kind of makes sense. But I tell you, this is a thought that I had a few months ago. I'll say the other day, but it was a few months ago. Is that I think when YouTube goes completely anti-hunter, I think you're going to see the emergence of people, and I think there's people that's starting to do it right now, but it just hasn't gained steam. But I think you're going to see an emergence to this subscription-based platform where you can pay the $2 or $3 a month, because that's all you're going to need to charge. And all of these hunters are going to flock to your website to get their content. And I honestly do think that's what's going to happen. You're going to get guys like, so let's say Stahl So Stahl did DVDs for a long time. You don't need to because they've got R&T TV, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's what you're going to see more R&T TV. I think you're going to see more of that stuff where, you know, you pay you $5, you get a little bit of inside information, probably get a discount on some gear.
Well, maybe there will be a resurgence of the hunting channels like Wild TV and the Sportsman Channel. Who knows? If YouTube and those places are full-blown censoring hunting content, it's got to go somewhere.
Definitely. And I mean, look at things like the Roost TV that Joe Hines and Scott Trinan put on through Moat Gear. I mean, I subscribe to that.
Yeah, of course you do, because you're still going to need your fix for watching fellas shoot birds and watch them set up, and it's not so much the shooting the birds. Like the average waterfowl hunter now aren't watching the videos to see you drop 10 birds in a volley. They're watching now to see, okay, what gear is that guy using? How is he setting up?
How's he doing it? Yeah.
How's he doing it, right? Because now they're trying to figure out, okay, what's going to give me the bet? They're using it as an education tool, not for the shock and awe of just watching a group of fellas dummy a flock of geese.
Yeah.
They're trying, so they're still going to need that they're still going to need to feed that desire to watch the videos. That's why the DVDs were as popular as they were before YouTube. Like, seriously, you think about it. Like, there was fellas that made a living off selling DVDs of their hunts.
I think one of the reason that YouTube took off the biggest and is because of cell phones and computers. People watch it on their computers, right? Like, a lot of people have desk jobs and they're sitting there in their desk job with their computer in front of them. So they crank over to their new screen, they got YouTube up, and they watch a video on their break or something like that. Or they sit there on their phone and watch a video. And I mean, if they take that away, I think there's going to have to be some sort of mobile platform that they can jump onto. Because I got a beautiful TV sitting here, and I never turn that thing on. I could hardly find the power button.
You think about like, whenever you turn on your social media, or you turn on the news or anything like that, everything is always bad news, right?
Yeah.
But if you go on TikTok, you go on YouTube, it knows what you like. All you see is the things that you like, so the things that make you laugh, or the things you enjoy watching. So it's always going to need to be there, because people need a break from that bad news that's being forced in our face all the time.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a need for it. It's just, what's the new platform going to be?
Yeah.
Well, the big thing. I think that, like, the TikToks and things like Instagram is no holds barred.
Yeah.
You fucking show whatever you want on there. As long as you've got a piece of saran wrap over your tits, that's good enough for Instagram. And as far as like hunting and shooting and stuff, hey man, if you wanna show a video of you blowing up a gopher, no problem. We're good.
Well,
just come over here and support our platform.
The thing that Instagram does that nobody else does is that if it's really bad, they'll say this video is sensitive. Some viewers may find this sensitive. And so you can click on it, or you can just, oh no, this is probably something bad, I don't want to watch it. So you just scroll on by like what a fucking adult would do. If there's something you don't like, why do you have to watch it?
Right.
So they give you the option to not watch it.
Yeah.
But if you want to watch it, just click on it, and then they let you. Like, I don't know. It seems to me that Instagram is more. It allows you to be an adult more than just somebody that's going around all the time piss moaning about, oh, you hurt this, or you hurt my feelings, or whatever.
It's being a Karen.
Yeah, definitely. But I think it'll probably, like the Patreons of the world will be more popular for hunters and outdoorsmen.
I think so.
or you know, like other subscription-based platforms where it's on-demand TV. You watch whatever the hell you want, like full binge watch. Be just like Netflix, but for hunting. And I mean, there definitely is a few of those out there right now, but I don't disagree. They're going to be more popular, which is great. Which is great because it offers people don't mind paying a little bit of money to be able to watch what they want to watch on demand. And it puts a little money in the pocket of the people that are out there working hard to produce those things.
Yeah, well, like, I don't know what it's like in your house, but like, we don't have cable. I don't pay for cable anymore because I got Netflix, I got Paramount, I've got Crave, I've got all these, like, gone are the days. Like, people don't mind spending money for their entertainment. So,
and that's like 20. And if you've got Paramount and you've got Crave and you've got Netflix, like, you've got some money stacked up there. But anybody, realistically, I mean, it's not more than $100 bill. But anybody that wants to watch Yellowstone, all of a sudden you had to have a subscription to Paramount. You know,
absolutely.
You want to watch 1883 or 1913, whatever the other two spinoffs they are, you got to have Paramount. You know what I mean? And once those are over, which I don't know, I think they are now. For now, like, that's nobody's going to cancel that.
No, you got to sit there for 11 more months and wait for the next season of 4 shows or 5.
And that's like, we'll say, $20 a month. You know, so as a hunter, if you could say, "Hey, here's this subscription-based platform, and it's got this whole side of it that's just waterfowl hunting, or deer hunting, or bear hunting, or whatever, or this show or that show, and you can binge watch the seasons." Well, by God, you know, it's not going to be long, and that shit's going to take off.
I guarantee you, it's going to happen, buddy. I guarantee you, because not that it's going to be anything grotesque or anything that's totally off limits, but there's going to come a time where, you know, East Coast Waterfowl Mafia videos aren't going to be able to be viewed on YouTube.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
It's coming, right?
Yeah, so, and we're already seeing it in the numbers.
And fellas and ladies are going to be able. They still are going to want to watch these hunts.
Yeah. So you either pivot and get on to something that's going to work for people and start pumping that.
Yeah.
And you know, like, maybe right now people are used to having everything for free, but we're already, like you said, we're already paying for Netflix, Paramount, Crave, all that stuff. And when people get going on YouTube and they're like, "Fuck, you can't even," you're not going to see anything getting shot on TikTok. So no sense in having that. And you do have Instagram because you can watch it on there. But boys, if you want to watch full length videos, like, it's getting harder and harder to find on YouTube because they're being censored. Well, I wouldn't mind paying $15 or $5 or whatever it is.
Well, especially if you don't have a choice, if there's nowhere else to watch it, right?
That's right. And if you're as dedicated as what, you know, the majority of waterfowlers are, and to touch on what you guys said earlier, like, I don't think there's, and I agree with you, I don't think there's anybody in the hunting world that spends the money that we spend.
Nope.
No.
So what's another $10 a month?
Right.
That's nothing. They spend that in coffee in a fucking day.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So $10 for a subscription service where I can watch all the killing and all the education on duck hunting that I can. Yeah, fellas will be lining up.
Yeah.
I think we just discovered a new revenue generator for East Coast Waterfowl Mafia and Punisher Waterfowl.
Oh, East Coast Waterfowl Mafia might have some things working in the background.
Boys, good for you guys.
There might be some things coming.
Good, because I think that's the only way that you're going to be able to survive, is that you've got to be able to roll with the punches, right?
You got to hustle.
If you're going to be involved in this industry, you can't lull yourself to sleep out of any little success. It's too aggressively changing.
Yeah,
you know, you have to be on the forefront of it, and you're always, you know, you always have to be marketing yourself, and you always have to be ready to pivot. I think if friggin' COVID taught us anything, it's you either be on your toes and ready to move forward, or you get left behind in the dust real quick. So
you stay ahead of the game.
And the other thing, COVID taught us is that if you think that the world worked only one way and it had to work that way, well, COVID taught us different on that, because the entire economic structure of North America changed
big time
overnight.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, so definitely you got to be willing to try things that might even be out of your comfort zone, editing or technology wise or whatever, but you just learn as you go. Like Wesley does all the editing, but I started dicking around with those reels. I was gonna do like you guys did and try to figure out TikTok, because it was super popular. But then I was like, well, I don't want to just post videos of birds and no chance of there being a dead bird, or always worrying about the account that we've put all this time and effort in getting banned. I'm like, let's try Instagram Reels, and maybe we could grow our followers on there. And it's been pretty good. You're making, like, you're finding songs that you like. You're making videos that might only be 10 seconds long or 30 seconds or, a minute or whatever, depending on, and we're just throwing darts, basically. Some of them take and some of them don't.
Yeah, and I think that's what, and if you asked anybody that's being successful, I think 99% of them will all tell you that, well, I tried this didn't work, but then we just said fuck it, and we're going to try this, and this is what worked. It's a crapshoot every time.
And the other thing is too, like, when you have footage, like, you can't take huge chunks of your footage and put them out in one place and then edit a video and it's not original footage anymore because you've used it someplace else. But if you're taking and you're saying to yourself, well, all I got to do is make a 10 to 30 second or at the most 1 minute clip, like, geez, you can take short clips from a few hunts and use them several, a few hunts several different ways. And I mean, it's easy. I have iMovie on my phone, edit them that way. It's simple,
Buddy, remember, Jesus, what's his name? He now works, he did work for DU. Now he works for Delta.
Dugan, Billy Dugan.
Yeah, Billy Dugan. So him and I were in Winnipeg doing meetings for Ducks Unlimited, and I showed him that iMovie on the phone. I said, before I do a dinner, this is what I do, and I take the prizes and I just take pictures of it and put it on my iMovie and make a little video, and I put it out on social media. And Billy Dugan was like, Jesus, that's impressive. He said, that's awesome. He said, it's that easy. I said, buddy, it's that easy. But like Billy was in his 50s at the time, so manipulating an iPhone wasn't something that was in his repertoire. Yeah. But he was like, that's fucking brilliant. So just like you just put it on your phone, and you only need a 3-minute video, because that's all anybody's got the attention span for these days.
Not even. Yeah, 3 minutes is way too long.
Yeah, 30 seconds is pushing it.
30 seconds is pretty. If 30 seconds is pretty good. It takes some.
You got to get their attention immediately, though.
It's most of your songs on there are going to give you a 30-second spot, and if you take and edit a video for 30 seconds, it's not very much. You got to be creative about how to tell your point, but that's our attention span, you know.
Instant gratification.
Oh yeah, and if not, I'm gonna swipe you.
But I'll swipe you. But adding that music to it, like, your video could be the tits.
Yeah.
But but you add, like, anyway, I'm a big AC/DC, Metallica, that sort of that genre of rock. Like, when I hear, like, I don't care about watching videos of birds getting shot anymore. I've seen so many of them, right?
Yeah.
But if there's a video comes on and it's got like a rock and roll song to the video,
yeah,
I tell you what, I'm watching it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, it's just something extra to just grab me to just, feed into my sensory needs, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, man, I don't know if you got any more to add, but we've been recording for 2 hours and 41 minutes.
That's awesome.
We've been on the phone for almost 3 hours.
Almost
2 hours and 57 minutes we've been on the phone.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'd say that's a pretty good talk.
That's a good run.
Yeah,
That's a good
I'd say
run.
so. Anybody that if you're still listening to us three, good on you.
Yeah. Congratulations.
So, Damien,
passed the test.
Damien, how can people connect with you? What would you like people to do to follow you?
Yeah, what's your OnlyFans link?
That is Big Papa Pump. On all the regular social media, buddy. We're on Instagram and on Facebook. We're not a big apparel brand or anything like that. We're trying to educate people and educate them to be good people. Not we're going to teach you how to be an awesome hunter. We're trying to teach you how to be a better human being more than anything, right? And I know you guys talk a lot about it on your show too. Just be good to people and don't be a douchebag, right? So, you can catch anywhere you get your podcast from, you can find us. If you just search up Punisher Waterfowl on YouTube, search up Punisher Waterfowl, and then the same for all the social media.
Cool,
awesome, man. It's been a good talk.
Yeah, hell yeah, it's been fucking great getting caught up with you.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing. It's been a few months since I've been talking to you guys, but anyways, I've been meaning to send you an email because I got a plan for next fall for
Sounds
something, good. and I got to run it by you guys. So
sounds good, man.
So I'll be sending you an email in the next week or two.
Yeah,
sounds good.
Cool, brother.
Good talking to you, man. Everyone,
buddy,
if you survived this long, thank you for listening.
Yeah.
We will catch you on the next one.
We will catch you on the next one. Thanks very much, Damien.
No, thank you, boys.